And the death toll rising, dozens still missing following incredible flooding in one country. Well, 9 states in the severe zone tonight, and we have a torcon of 4 in parts of 4 states. That's Nebraska, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas, and a torcon of 3 further east. For the very latest, we want to head to the lab now. Kim?
All right, thanks so much, Alex. And storm specialist Carl Parker has been tracking the storms all night. Carl, what are you seeing right now? And I'm understanding that we're actually looking at a new tornado watch that may be issued soon.
Yeah, that's right. And Dr. Greg is with me right now. We're going to talk about a tornado warning that has actually come out in Colorado.
Yeah, that's pretty far back to the west of the truest of the moisture, but the moist air comes all the way back there and goes upslope a little bit, and there's an upper air cold pocket that's coming into there. So we're talking about tornado warning for Cheyenne County, like around the Kit Carson area heading towards Cheyenne Wells. Has some rotation to that, and we'll go into the high definition radar here, and you can see that it's a kind of storm that has one little arm coming in there, and then it is surging. It's probably will gust itself out and become more of a wind threat, but for the moment there is some rotation along that little arc there. Here's the velocity showing up, and so you can see that, well, the wind is right there as I'm drawing it right now, but there's a little bit of a circulation right in that location. That would be the place that would be having the tornado sort of in this little notch area heading off toward the east. No indication of sighting a tornado at the moment, but there could be one, could be some hail, some damaging winds. Carl?
All right, Dr. Greg, thank you so much. And we want to show you where there may be additional tornadoes tonight. And take a look at the visible satellite picture over the last few hours here. We actually cut this off a little early since we're beginning to lose the light. But what I want you to notice is the low-level flow. Notice the cloud streets coming up from the south just like that. And then notice the higher level clouds as they are coming out of the west just like that. So there's a lot of turning of the winds with height. There's a lot of what we call deep layer shear. The winds get much faster as you get up to around 10,000 feet in the atmosphere. Not a whole lot of low-level shear, but certainly this is an atmosphere that is ripe for supercell thunderstorms, and we think that this is going to be the target area. And we are now seeing our first warning in this area, severe thunderstorm warning for Labette and Neosho counties, and that's going until 7:45. We'll zoom down here and take a look at what's happening with that cell, and that is now just off to the west of Parsons. This is going until 7:45, and it's moving northeast at 45 miles per hour, half-dollar size hail, a possibility with that cell, and 60-mile-an-hour wind as well. So this area of severe weather underway at this point, and this is the one that we're going to watch very carefully. Now, we've had ongoing storms for a lot of the day on either side of the Ohio Valley. A couple of warnings to tell you about here. There's a big complex of storms that produced a lot of wind there in northern Kentucky. That's now moving into drier air. But on the southern part of the state and now coming right into 75, big bow echo here. You notice the sort of C shape to these thunderstorms, and you've got a lot of wind coming out of these. They're moving very rapidly, too, to the east at about 55 miles per hour. 60-mile-per-hour wind is going to be the threat up and down that 75 corridor, including in London. That warning going until 8:30, and then another warning off to the south of that. That's for McCreary and Wayne counties. That going until 8:15. Then well off to the north here and near Bloomington, brand new warning. Look at all the lightning on that cell as it's now nearing Bloomington, and we're concerned about 60-mile-per-hour wind and 1-inch hail here. That is a severe thunderstorm warning for Greene, Monroe, and Owen counties going until 8:45. And Kim will talk more about the forecast for tonight and also take a look at the models coming up in just a moment.
And Carl, we want to show you, if we could, a new tornado watch we mentioned here in effect 4 parts of Kansas, also into Oklahoma. I think Sarah has this ready for us. Thank you so much, Sarah. This is until 2 o'clock in the morning. So where you see the red, that's where tornadoes are possible. So if you live in Joplin, Springfield, you guys are under that threat. So please be vigilant here tonight. And here in Joplin, Missouri, we know you are no stranger to this kind of threat. And tonight, you, along with most of southern Missouri, is in that danger zone for severe storms, maybe tornadoes. Meteorologist Reynolds Wolf is on the ground in Joplin, joining us live now. Reynolds?
Absolutely, guys. Hard to believe, and here we go again. I mean, you take a look at our Missouri sunset, and it's covered not only by the clouds that are rolling in, but by that new tornado watch that's in effect. Oh, my gosh. Take a look at the development that we have here. That's Roger Gower behind the camera there, America, and you'll notice that some of these things really just beginning to tower up. And what's interesting is when we showed up earlier today, you had mostly blue skies, a few patchy clouds here and there, but obviously the scene is changing. Reason for that tornado watch is, of course, the convective cap. They do have some idea that that's going to pop, and when it does, we could have all kinds of things happen. We're talking intense lightning. We could have large hail, damaging winds, heavy rainfall. Not even to mention the chance of tornadoes. So, folks, it could be a very long evening, and certainly tomorrow may be a big day for cleanup for a lot of folks. But really, really pay attention over the next couple of hours. If we can, let's go right to the hourly forecast. Over the next minute or so, we're going to cruise you through this before we hand it off to Carl Parker. But take a look at this. Clouds are coming in, stacking up. The atmosphere becomes increasingly unstable. Convective cap, boom, it pops. You've got the showers, you've got the storms. It is going to be rocking through here, not only through parts of Missouri, but over into Arkansas, into Kansas and Oklahoma, all places that are going to be under the threat of that severe weather for tonight. Again, tonight, but then also segues into tomorrow morning, where we could have still more of the scattered showers and storms around, maybe till 4 a.m. But I'm thinking much of it is going to move off towards the east, and the forecast shows that we're going to have drier air coming into by the time we get to the weekend. But again, all focus is on what's happening for the next 12 hours or so. I can't think of anyone better to hand it off to than to Carl Parker. He's one of the best meteorologists on the planet. Carl, take it away. Give us a better idea of what to expect.
Reynolds, thank you. And we're going to take a look at the forecast and look at the Torcon here across parts of the plains in the Mid-South. And so it's a 3 out of 10 in southeast Missouri. Now, what's interesting about tonight, Kim, as we mentioned before, is that there's a lot of deep layer shear, but not a lot of low-level shear. So we may see some supercells developing, but then they could grow upscale into a big complex of storms. And we're going to watch some of those elevated storms coming out of Kansas and into Missouri later tonight. So here is one of our high-resolution models, and there you see those supercells developing right along I-44. That's where things may really get going here in the next few hours, and there certainly could be some tornadoes with those cells.
All right, we'll be right back with more on the severe weather potential right after this.
Welcome back as we continue to track the threat for more severe storms here across the middle of the country. If you're just joining us, new tornado watch in effect here. That includes parts of Missouri, into Kansas, Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, and that is out until 2 o'clock local time. So within this area, conditions favorable for storms that could produce tornadoes. So this is an area that we'll be watching very, very closely here. Again, right in the middle of our the country. We've got some storms that have fired up there. They flared up a little bit here across portions of Kansas, and they're going to continue to work their way on off towards the east a bit here as we head on our way through the rest of our evening. Right now, things are quiet in Missouri, at least the southwestern part of the state, but that could change very, very quickly. We've seen the storms there in Kansas that fired up in less than 10 minutes. They went severe. So again, this is something that we'll be following very, very closely. Things can change very quickly. Storms right now capable of producing some damaging wind and hail. But again, as we head through the night, we could be seeing that changing and the tornado risk going to increase. So an area to watch for. Know what you're going to do in this area now. Basement if you have it, innermost portion of your home if a tornado warned storm happens. Kim?
Plan now. You're absolutely right. Thanks, Alex. Well, the state of Missouri is gearing up to get hit hard as severe storms roll through the plain states. Right now, that tornado watch is in effect for parts of the state. Here's a live look at St. Louis, where temperatures today, well, right now, 67 degrees. So we got the warmth, that's for sure. And about 100 miles to the south, meteorologist Mike Seidel. He's live. And Mike, please give us some perspective on some of the conditions you're seeing and maybe what you can expect tonight.
Well, right now we're treated to a pretty decent sunset. We had a great sunrise this morning in St. Louis. We relocated down Interstate 55. We've got some orange out there, the sun now behind the overcast. Still a very gusty southwest wind, which since this time yesterday has brought up a lot of moisture. Dew point right now is at 65. It's a pretty muggy atmosphere. Temperatures right around 70. Now, we didn't have the heating that they've had back to the west where the tornado watch is now out till 2 a.m. That includes parts of 4 states. We're talking the Joplin area, also Springfield, Chanute, Kansas, back to the Ozarks. We've got Reynolds Wolf in Joplin. He's going to be with us throughout the evening till midnight tonight, and we preempted our normal programming to keep you safe in these areas. Already some storms have popped up in those areas, and again, there's just enough turning with the winds with height that we have that threat for twisters in that area. Again, the watch until 2 a.m. No watch here. Our Torcon right now 3. Let's go to the hourly forecast. You'll see that at least for most of this evening here in the southeast part of Missouri, we're going to be in pretty good shape. It's cloudy for the most part. It's breezy. It's mild. But the storms will hold off. After midnight tonight, then all bets are off. Storms come in. Watch out for the locally heavy rainfall. Still the threat of wind, hail, and maybe a tornado, not out of the question. And that heavy rain will continue into tomorrow. Good news, Alex. Easter weekend here will be fine with highs in the 60s for Easter Sunday as Somebody goes squealing through town here in Cape Girardeau. Alex, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. Just got to get through the nasty weather now before we get to the Easter weekend.
As a matter of fact, we have a new tornado warning. Boy, these things are popping up quick and they're spinning quickly. We've got a tornado warning now in Labette, Kansas. If you live there, take cover immediately. This is until 8 p.m. Again, these are developing very quickly and they are becoming tornadic very quickly. Take cover now in Mount Pleasant, Oswego, Parsons County. This is until 8 o'clock. So a tornado warning is in effect. Radar indicated at this point. Please seek shelter now. And that tornado watch, by the way, is in effect till 2 o'clock in the morning. So we've got many more hours of watching that severe potential.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly these storms really erupted. I mean, within less than 10 minutes, storms formed and they were severe like that. I mean, incredible. So again, seeking shelter now. You can see where the storm's going to be headed in the next few minutes.
Welcome back. We continue to follow severe weather. I'm here with severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes. And Dr. Greg, we often talk about vertical wind shear being higher in the atmosphere, but sometimes it's right in the lowest levels of the atmosphere.
Yeah, sometimes we talk about like making your top hand move faster, and so the atmosphere rolls, and then those rolls get tilted into tornado rotation. But sometimes it's just shifting winds that already have it, and in that case, it's kind of like the skater pulling together that gradual horizontal rotation. And that's what we're seeing right at this point here. Here in our wind streams, the winds just to the north side of the front are coming in from the east. Just to the south side, they're from the south. So there's inherently a wide rotation that's in there, and the thunderstorms are forming right on that, and they're trying to pull that in. So it's a little bit different mixture of sources of rotation today than what we sometimes get.
And so we've got to look at this tornado warning now, and I actually do think we have a live picture of that as well. There it is on the left. There's a live picture of that cell that is being warned now for tornado. That is Labette County, that tornado warning, and that is going until 8 o'clock.
And you definitely can see the low-hanging cloud there. Just slightly to the right of the center, you see a tail coming in. So that often is off what is called the forward flank downdraft, air that's coming in from the east and then wraps around counterclockwise about the whole rotating thunderstorm.
So it looks like they've overshot it just a little bit to the left there, but right where that lowering was and where we see the clear area, that's where we want to look for the tornado, right?
Yeah, they're looking way down to the southwest of where the threat is now, following along this frontal zone. But indeed, we do have a tornado warning for Labette County. There has been a funnel cloud sighted. That was around the Dennis area. And so this is one, if you were watching earlier, I said that when the storms go, if they can break that cap, they would explode, and indeed they have done so. We're a little bit far from the radar, so we don't get tremendous detail in the structure here, but the tornado liking to sit right in about that notch and heading off toward the east. Take a look here in the high-definition radar. There'll be some hail in that around the Parsons area. Right about here near Dennis is where the tornado was reported. I'm expecting it right now to be on this side of the storm, heading over into the area that would be generally toward the Labette, the Sherman area. So dangerous storm there. These storms exploding right along the stationary front in southeast Kansas this evening, Carl.
Now, is this the flanking line that's developing right in here?
Yeah, there's another storm that's forming there, so could be a very, very complicated evening. That one may come in and contaminate the inflow to the northern storm, but the southern one then may develop its own rotation. To some extent, the best thing that could happen would be if these storms move north and come across the frontal boundary instead of one of them runs east right along the frontal boundary. If it could go due east across that front, it would have more time to build up rotation than if they're crossing across it. If they just go right across it, they get a brief spin up and then diminish.
But if they're along it, they've got a continuous feed of that spin or that vorticity there. And there's a live picture once again.
Back to looking at chasers trying to get into a position there. Obviously, some trees, not all of the central part of the U.S. is tree-free, and certainly this part of Kansas does have some trees in, some little bit of rolling terrain there. Right, just slightly to the right of the picture is that broad lowering of the cloud that he's trying to get into position to look at more closely.
So that lowering there is basically the bottom edge of the larger rotation within the circulation in the thunderstorm.
Exactly, yeah. There's a little bit of low pressure there, and so in response to that, the cloud base is able to be lowered down. The air doesn't have to rise as high to get condensed, and also some of that rain-cooled air from the northeast side of the storm is being pulled back in, so it's more humid in the updraft and inflow coming in there, and that also lets the cloud come in lower down.
And we also want to tell you about another warning that's not very far away from there. Oh, there it is right there. You can definitely see that. Barton-Crawford counties under severe warning right now until 8 p.m. Then off to the north and east, Dr. Greg, we are seeing some development right along the front, just north of 44.
Yeah, indeed, and we should point out that back there in the Kansas-Colorado border, Cheyenne, Colorado, Greeley, and Wallace in Kansas, also a tornado warning back there.
And one last cell to tell you about that is southwest of St. Louis. This cell produced baseball-size hail, warning for Washington County going until 7:45. Much more in the severe weather coming right up.
All right, check this out, everyone. We have a tornado warning in effect now in Parsons, Kansas, or Labette County, and we have a chaser that's out there looking live at this thunderstorm. We're getting reports of hail and even an unconfirmed tornado. So please, if you live in Parsons, Kansas, and listen to this hail, and you need to take cover now. Get to the lowest level of your home, an interior room. Stay away from the windows, and you can see this storm, how dark it is off to the north and west. And let's just listen to this hail that's hitting this car.
TJ, what do you have to the west? Anything?
The sirens have been going off in Parsons, Kansas. Chasers are on this, trying to position themselves in a safe place to bring you coverage. And right now, hail being reported and heard and seen. Earlier, we could see it bouncing off some of the ground. But also, a tornado warning, an unconfirmed tornado has been sighted in this area. So please continue to take cover and stay there until the warning is over. Welcome back, everyone, to this special live coverage of the severe weather threat across the central states. It's really starting to ramp up now. We're live until midnight Eastern time. A tornado risk. Well, a 4 of our TORCON is out there tonight for some of you, actually in 4 states. And for more, let's head to the lab. Alex.
All right, thanks so much, Kim. Well, we are here in the lab, of course, following all these strong storms that have really fired up very quickly. Storm specialist Carl Parker tracking this system as it begins to try to work its way on off towards the east. And I tell you, Carl, looking at the radar, these storms, they flared up extremely fast.
They really did. They just popped up out of nowhere, and we knew that they were coming. And right now, there is this tornado warning that Kim mentioned in southeastern parts of Kansas, that for Labette County and going until 8 o'clock. Very large hail, a possibility and a probability with this storm as it moves along towards the east. That tornado warning going until 8 p.m. We'll take a look at the high resolution radar and look at the cores here. And you see these magenta cores right in there and right in there. That's where the hail is likely to be, the large hail. And in fact, when we look at what's called differential reflectivity, we're looking to see whether or not the objects are more gray or more red. Red would indicate more rain. In this case, you're seeing a lot of gray, so that tells us that there is most likely very large hail within that cell as it moves off towards the east right now. Now, off to the north and east of that, another severe warning for Barton and Crawford counties. And in general, you've got a lot of rotation here. You've got winds that are coming out of the east off to the north, winds that are coming out of the south and southwest off to the south here. So there's this general area of turning in the atmosphere, and these storms are going to be inclined to spin for that reason, and that's why we think there are going to be more supercells developing and certainly more potential for tornadoes. Another big cell here, well south and west of St. Louis. This one actually produced baseball-size hail. That's a severe warning for Washington County. That now coming into Potosi and not very far away from St. Francois or St. Francois. And there's a look at the hail size there. That is that baseball-size hail, 3.7-inch hail, tremendous hail with that cell. Then well off to the east, a couple more warnings to tell you about. We've been watching this cluster of storms not being warned on right now, and it does look like it is beginning to settle down. In fact, a lot of these clusters now driving into drier air, and that's certainly going to help things out. Still a little bit of lightning there around London. Then another warning off to the west, Edmonson and Grayson counties. That's going until 7:50 Central Time. And then we've got a warning now near Bloomington, Indiana, and that is a severe warning for Greene, Monroe, Owens counties going until 8:45 this evening. So a lot of severe storms, but the area that we think is really going to light up tonight is in southern parts of Missouri, and we'll talk more about that forecast and the TORCON index coming up here in just a few minutes. Alex, over to you.
All right, Carl. Well, Joplin, Missouri, you along with most of southern Missouri at the risk for severe storms. In fact, that area under a tornado watch. And we got meteorologist Reynolds Wolf joining us live from Joplin. Reynolds, what are the conditions like right now?
Well, right now, you know, it's kind of interesting because the wind is kind of intermittent. At times, we have a stronger gust that'll come through, like now. Actually, the wind is picking up a little bit. Then it will subside. The biggest change, Alex, has got to be, obviously, the more cloud cover we're seeing. Some cloud tops are just really incredible. And farther out to the west, you've got the sun setting. Hey, farther out to the west, we also have some live imagery to share with you. First on deck, let's take you right now to Parsons, Kansas. You see the video from Parsons, Kansas, or rather the live imagery. They've had reports of heavy rain, some hail. That is the spot where we had the tornado warning that was in effect. Now, if we can, let's cast our eyes a little bit farther back towards the east, and that's where we'll find ourselves in Lamar, Missouri. Lamar, Missouri, you got conditions there that are also going to deteriorate. Carl Parker laid it out for you beautifully. Basically, what happened is you have the erosion of that convective cap. All the heat that we've had of the day, which granted has not been much, is now starting to rise up. We're having the convection cap go, so we're going to have more development, more instability of these big clouds, these big showers, these big storms. What did Carl say, guys, earlier? About nearly 4 inches in diameter. I think he said 3.34 inches of size hail. I mean, that's some big stuff. Think about how strong that stuff has got to be. 3.75. I think that was Sarah Dillingham that gave me that. Sarah, thanks so much. Guys, that's how it's going to be. We're going to see more of this. This storm already has, this instability already has a bit of a track record, and odds are we could see that in places like Joplin, where we have the history of the storms, the tornadoes rolling through here. Also, a side note, which you might find interesting, folks, between our commercial, between this hit and the last one we had some viewers that came by, some people that called Joplin home. We were speaking with some of them as young as 5 years old, and I was asking them what to do when you hear the tornado siren. Boom, take cover. They already know. They're already primed. They're already prompted. They're certainly keeping their eye on the sky. They're watching the Weather Channel. They're ready for whatever dishes out. And Carl, I know you got a better idea of what we can expect over the next several hours.
All right, Reynolds, thank you so much. And let's talk about our Torcon index here and take you through this as we go through tonight. Really interesting how we're going to see these supercells probably continuing to develop in an area where there's not a lot of vertical wind shear. So the winds are not changing that much or getting that much stronger as you go up from, say, the bottom of the atmosphere up to about 5,000 feet. But we are seeing a lot of turning of the wind in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, and that's enough to get these things going right along that front. So here is our Torcon index. It is now a 4 out of 10, and that is right around southwestern Missouri and also there into parts of Arkansas and northeast Oklahoma, southeast Kansas. Same story there, not very far away from Springfield, Missouri, and then we've got a 3 out of 10 as you get into southeastern Missouri and northeastern Arkansas. So it's really southern Missouri. That's the sort of epicenter of all this severe weather. Probably a series of supercell thunderstorms developing and then growing upscale into complexes later on tonight.
So right around 30–40% chance of seeing a tornado within a 50-mile radius of those areas.
Exactly right. So here's a look at the high-resolution model, and what these models do is that they consider all of these different factors. They consider the instability in the atmosphere. They look at the shear in the atmosphere. They consider the boundaries, where they are, how the winds are changing, and so they're showing us the development of these supercell storms a little farther to the south and to the east here. So they're not perfect, but they're giving you an idea of how this may generally play out. You don't want to look at these models and say, all right, well, that's exactly where the thunderstorm is going to be. It's not that. It's the idea of it. It's the general idea of it, showing you that there are going to be storms across that 44 corridor and a little north, and individual cells, discrete cells, supercell thunderstorms that are more likely to produce very large hail and possibly tornadoes. And we may see one going well into the overnight hours here. And then you've got a couple of clusters of storms developing actually behind the front. And with those, you're going to see a heavy rain threat and a large hail threat, certainly not a tornado threat, because they're going to be backing in that cold air at the surface. We can look at another high-resolution model here in a moment. By the way, the clusters keep on going and drive off there into the Mississippi Valley towards morning. Here's another high-resolution model, and this is showing you basically the same idea. Very strong storms there, southern Missouri, followed by some big clusters of storms, and with those heavy rain and some possible damaging wind. Now, tomorrow is going to be another busy day, we think, and we're talking about a 3 out of 10 on the Torcon there in Kentucky and Tennessee, and we're going to see strong storms all the way down into the deep south as well as all this energy continues to work eastward.
Wow, so a lot to track. We get the 1-2 punch for today and tonight, and then tomorrow more storms flaring up a little bit farther east. All right, thanks so much, Carl. Well, of course, we continue to follow this. Let's take you out live now to how things are looking right now on the ground. On the left, it's Parsons, Kansas, still, I believe, under a tornado warning, and then Lamar, Missouri. We've got some very dark, ominous clouds.
Welcome back, everyone. Right now, we're looking live at Parsons, Kansas to your left and Lamar, Missouri to your right. Two towns about ready to get smacked with severe weather. We've seen reports of hail already in Parsons, a tornado warning earlier, unconfirmed tornado with this. And then we also have Lamar, Missouri under the threat of severe weather as well. Look how dark it is off to the right. Unbelievable. New tornado warning in Kansas as well. We've got Crawford and Cherokee County under a tornado warning. So make sure you guys take cover immediately. All right, let's head now over to, I believe, Carl and Dr. Forbes in the lab for expert analysis on these storms. Guys?
Kim, we are still watching this supercell thunderstorm. It has reorganized, seeing a lot more circulation right now.
Yeah, last time I was with you, Carl, we were seeing that there was a storm coming in from the south and merging with that. Now that storm has taken over. It has rotation on it. In the meantime, we did have a tornado briefly reported. Let's take a look. The situation is one where we have a frontal zone, so winds very warm coming in from the south, temperatures in the 80s, colliding with, and I'll draw a few lines on here, colliding with winds coming in from the northeast. So across that front, there's already a natural tendency for the atmosphere to rotate, and once the air gets pulled in from both sides to the thunderstorm, it's kind of like the skater that spins faster, pulling arms inward. The thunderstorm rotates faster as well. So we're talking about extreme southeast parts of Kansas, and then the storms will likely push into southwest parts of Missouri. Oklahoma and Arkansas so far are in that cap, that warm air aloft that storms have not been able to break through. So here's what we're talking about. A very well-defined hook now in Labette County, Kansas, and it's pushing its way over into Cherokee and Crawford County, Kansas, where that tornado warning is likely to go to, where that storm is likely to go to. Lavender is the hail that's associated with the storm, and then the hook indicates the mid-level rotation is quite intense. Here's where, and now it's pushed just slightly to the east of that, but coming toward the Labette area about 745, Montana 751, West Mineral there as it heads off toward the east and going to some of our high-definition radar. Here's what was the original storm. It has slid north of the frontal zone. It has had a new storm that's come in from the south, and that one, look at the hail core on that one now. Wow. And look how that spins around. That's the rotation of the storm giving the shape to it, the mid-level rotation. That echo-free notch coming in, that precipitation-free notch coming in, indicative of a very strong updraft. And then right in here would be the main threat area for the tornado. And this tornado warning on this is lavender because there has been a tornado reported with a storm about 4 miles west-southwest of Parsons there, briefly in Labette County. Earlier we had a funnel cloud. And so the threat area is kind of marching itself south and east, Carl.
There is a tornado reported right now, Dr. Greg, in Labette, so there is an ongoing tornado. Now take cover immediately with this tornado warning there in southeastern Kansas. And we do have a live picture, I believe, as well. We're seeing what looks like a collar cloud. It looks like that might be part of the mezzo there. Difficult to tell, though, exactly.
Yeah, that's probably a part of, it angles up toward from the lower right to the upper left. That could be part of a shelf along the gust front. That could be the tail cloud inflow to the rotating part of the storm. Complex type of structure. Probably what we're seeing there is not a tornado unless it's some of that darker area that's kind of in the background there to the sort of the left side of that brighter white color. Have pretty well-defined rotation that's showing up, and now a tornado, as you say, being reported right over Labette. Chaser reporting just north of Labette, being reported at this point. Right in here is that very strong circulation, and let's see if we have any debris that's showing up in there. There definitely are some debris. Some of that is in clear air. Some of that may be actually debris now that is being picked up by the tornado. Most of that area, though, is under clear air return. So I'll show that one more time. Tornado being reported right there with that tornado symbol. Very strong rotation showing up, and now that rotation is slid off to the east-southeast of Labette. In fact, a whole little bit of a shear line that's in there, and with some debris signatures showing up in some of that, in some spots. So tornadoes, hopefully they're going to be brief, but that's certainly not the case with as unstable as this situation is, and with a front there. This has the potential, Carl, to be a situation, especially if the storms can go due east, of giving a longer track type tornado.
All right, we want to take a live look at the live picture in Lamar right now in Missouri, and very dark clouds there. We've been watching a cell. I believe this is the same cell that produced baseball-size hail earlier, and obviously very ominous skies there as that cell rolls along the countryside. It's well south and west of St. Louis, but we expect to see a lot more development in the southwestern part of Missouri coming up here through the next several hours, Dr. Craig.
Yes, indeed. In fact, these storms are likely to roll overnight and probably back into the western part of the Ohio Valley by morning. There'll be more storms then in the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley tomorrow.
And much more on this severe weather coming right up. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Continuing to track severe storms moving across the middle of the country. And again, we've got a tornado watch that is in effect until 2 o'clock local time. You can see in southeastern portions of Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma, southwestern portions of Missouri, into the far northern stretches of Arkansas. And within this area, conditions are favorable for storms that could produce tornadoes.
Already 2 reports of tornadoes, and right now we're looking live at one of the towns getting hit by a tornado, Labette here in Kansas. This is near Labette. A chaser's out here tonight following this storm that has already produced a tornado, so take cover now. But to your right, Lamar, Missouri, we're watching this thunderstorms that has already produced baseball-sized hail. Let's get expert analysis on these storms tonight. Let's head to the lab with Carl Parker and storm specialist, expert, Dr. Greg Forbes.
Kim, thank you so much. And we're watching this cell that is reorganized and has produced a tornado once again in southeastern Kansas. And we're certainly seeing a lot of turning of the winds in the lowest levels of the atmosphere right along that front there.
Yeah, we are. There is some change of the wind increasing with height that lets the air roll horizontally, and then that gets tilted up into the vertical in the inflow and updraft of the storm. But we also have some lateral shifts to the winds tonight across this frontal zone. Here you see the front in red and blue. The winds to the north of that are coming in from the north and east. The warm winds from the south of that are coming in from the south. So there's already inherently a tendency for the air to rotate there in the same sense of a tornado. And this is kind of like the skater analogy. When the thunderstorm inflow from either side of the front pulls these air in closer together, it rotates faster. And so that's an additional factor tonight for the development of these rotating thunderstorms, and they are, Carl, right along that frontal zone.
Now, we had a terrible tornado in Joplin, Missouri in 2011. This cell is not that far away from Joplin. Right now, it looks like it may pass just to the north.
Yeah, and we'll track that out momentarily here. I wanted to give you a big picture. We're talking about a storm that has produced baseball-sized hail across the border here. That's this storm in Missouri. This one could very well produce baseball-sized hail. This is the one that's had at least a funnel cloud and a brief tornado. That's the storm that we're going to zoom in on right now. There are more storms forming farther to the west of that and to the south of that, just across the border into Oklahoma. So what we had been predicting to happen this evening is unfolding. This storm has really taken over, though. It is coming out of Labette County, where there has been a funnel cloud and tornado reported, into Cherokee and Crawford County. You can see the well-defined appendage, a hook echo there. It's just a brand new frame has come in, and so it's almost entirely now in Cherokee and Crawford counties. Now, here is Joplin down in the lower right corner. And so monitoring the movement of this, you can see that for the moment, this would take the circulation, would go more toward Oronago rather than the Joplin area. But sometimes these storms will turn to the right.
Sometimes they veer off to the right.
Sometimes they veer to the right if they really begin to rotate, or if something comes and merges with them. We've seen that happen already. This storm has a merged part of the storm that was the original one, has died out, given way to a new one that merged with it, and that one is taking over. Let's zoom in and take a high definition look at this, just first timing it out. West Mineral and the Pleasant View area. So you can see here that I'm not tracking it at this point to go into that lower right corner in Joplin, but certainly if you're in Joplin or Oronago there, you need to definitely be keeping an eye on this storm to see if it is beginning to make any movement to the right.
And Dr. Greg, we've got a live picture from near Labette, Kansas right now, and obviously it's getting very dark out there, and that's when things become very scary because you no longer are able to see with your eyes whether or not something's coming.
Yeah, it's a combination of getting dark because the sun is setting and getting dark because we have clouds out there, storms that are over 40,000 feet tall, occasionally illuminated by lightning there. You see something hanging way down. I would think that that is mostly a shelf cloud. The storm with that appendage coming out of it appears to have some rain-cooled air that is wrapping around. The moist air is pretty shallow. There's a dry layer aloft, and that makes the storms vulnerable to be having pretty strong downdraft. So we could be getting damaging winds with this, along with the chance of a tornado down here in the right area. We'll continue to monitor this little ball. I'm thinking that that shelf is right along this, and I wanted to go then to the slice through that. This is back about a half hour ago when the storms first formed. They went from no clouds at all to storms. This was when we had the two cells merging together, 40,000, 45,000 feet tall. So they went from nothing to about 8 miles tall in just a matter of a few tens of minutes, Carl, as these storms exploded. There was a warm layer aloft that initially inhibited them from growing vertically, but once they did, they became severe almost immediately.
That's almost, I mean, that's really a thing about buoyancy. It's just like holding a ball underneath the water in a pool, and it wants to jump right out.
Once you stop holding it down, off it goes.
All right, we'll have much more on the severe weather coming up in just 60 seconds. You're watching Weather Center Live.
Well, welcome to special live coverage tonight through at least to midnight. Severe weather moving its way across the middle of the country. 2 tornado warnings right now. In fact, 2 tornadoes already reported in southeast Kansas. So good evening to you. I'm Alex Wallace.
And I'm Kim Cunningham. Let's get right to it with Carl Parker and severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes. And we're going to get to them in just a second. But did we want to show pictures first? All right, now let's go on over these guys.
All right, so we are watching the cell that continues to rotate rapidly and most likely producing at least the potential for a tornado, and we certainly have seen them already.
Yeah, indeed, and we're talking about a storm that is off in southeast parts of Kansas. We're pretty much limited to this frame at the moment because I was over there and had to move out of my position, so this is about the only frame that we have. But I've updated the timing for it. West Mineral, within minutes from now, the Asbury area about 8:34 as the tornado is in position within this little notch here, circling probably right about at that location, heading eastbound off toward the Oronago location. The Joplin location is there. So far, so good. For those of you in Joplin, this is tending to stay north of you, but sometimes the storms will angle themselves a little bit and take a little bit of a right turn, so you're certainly not totally out of the woods at this point. And some of the storms later on yet this evening that are now farther to the west may very well continue to give a bit of a problem.
And the other thing we're looking at here is a very serious hail core with this storm.
Yeah, certainly some very large hail, could be up to baseball size there inside that Lavender area that's right around the McCune area. We have also had these little symbols here, a tornado over Labette. We had a tornado that was west-southwest of Parsons briefly, and prior to that a funnel cloud. So this is a little bit ominous. The trend over time has been that there have been redevelopments a little bit farther to the south. If that trend continues, that angle takes it down toward the Joplin area. So we're keeping an eye on that very, very carefully.
And we had a moment ago, we had a live picture out of Labette there, and as you mentioned, because of the thickness of these clouds, in addition to the sun going down, it's going to be very difficult to see whether or not something is coming. It's getting very dark out there, and as you can see, a lot of lightning with these storms, very dangerous storms, and we expect to see more growth across southwestern Missouri and also there in southeastern Kansas over the next couple of hours, Dr. Gray.
Yeah, indeed. These storms, and there's several of them that you can see here that are back even behind the one that has the tornado warning on that. They're going to continue to move along that frontal zone overnight tonight across southern parts of Missouri, probably into southern Illinois, western parts of Kentucky as we head into the morning hours, and then probably keep going across Kentucky and maybe just a little north of the Ohio River as we head through the morning and afternoon hours.
And maybe we could take a look at some of these other cells as well, because they are starting to show indications of becoming rotating cells as well.
Indeed, the storm that's off to the north and east of Coffeyville, Kansas has severe thunderstorm warnings on that. Coming back into Labette County, that's already had the tornado producing storm. Labette and Montgomery counties have severe thunderstorm warnings there. And farther down across the state line there, north and west of Bartlesville, Oklahoma, that storm also firing up. It may initially then angle its way over towards south of Independence, Kansas, but if it begins to turn to the right, that could head potentially over to the Miami, Oklahoma area as well. So that's sort of the corridor that we're looking at this evening.
Yeah, this is the main zone primarily here from I-44 and on north. This is where everything is going to be the worst of the storms over the next several hours here.
Yeah, absolutely. Running right along that frontal zone. And I do not like the fact that this one now is turning almost due east, because that's the orientation of the front. That gives it longer time to absorb that rotation as it pulls in those shifting winds across the front and develop potentially a strong tornado by doing that. If it angles one way or the other away from the front, it loses that horizontal shift of the winds, that source of rotation.
So as long as it's right along that boundary, and we have to say getting pretty close to Joplin, maybe just to the north, but if it does end up being a right mover, and sometimes these things do turn right, it's going to be very close there.
Yeah, this little wannabe ball down here at the end of this appendage is the part that I'm worried about. It is building slowly south of its current location. It's not going straight eastbound. It's going a little bit east-southeast. So we're definitely keeping an eye on especially the north and west areas relative to Joplin, Missouri.
All right, we'll have much more on this coming up. Kim, Alex, over to you.
All right, thanks so much, guys. And of course, we've got our crew out in the field tracking all of this activity in a spot. You guys were just talking about it in Joplin.
All right, Reynolds Wolf is out there right now. And Reynolds, you saw the radar. You heard the guys talking about this. I know you've got to be concerned.
Without question, definitely concerned for the people that call this area home. And what's interesting, one thing I heard from Dr. Forbes, and when he says it is money in the bank, there's no one better than that man. He was talking about how much of the activity is now moving to the north of the Joplin area. Well, that's interesting because right over the camera, that is east. To my back is west, which means this direction happens to be north. And if we pan the camera, Roger, if we can pan over a little bit more to the north, we have had quite a light show. I don't know how much of this is actually picking up on camera, but we've had quite a bit of cloud to cloud, cloud to ground lightning. It has been just a fireworks display. Very intense at times, then it quiets down, and then with a rush, you just see just a kaleidoscope of lightning across the sky. More where that came from. What's funny, not a great deal of sound from this, still a ways off, but I can only imagine the heavy rain, the strong winds generating that you have right at the base of those clouds, and when it's all coming down, I'm sure it's making a big impact up there. Right now, back home, what we're dealing with is still the steady breeze. Off to our immediate west, we did have an open sky. Now we have one small window. Goodness gracious, Roger, I hope you didn't swing the camera up in that direction. We just had a huge lightning bolt that just came across, illuminated nearly the entire sky. There we go. It's just popping up like crazy. We're seeing the back, our west, begin to fill in a bit more. The wind, again, it just kind of switches on and off quite a bit. Hey, let's shift gears a little bit. We have a shot, again, back towards Labette, Kansas, which shows the lightning there, also very prevalent. Certainly a mess there. Another place of big concern. And then, of course, we make our way back over to parts of Lamar, Missouri. Lamar, Missouri, another place where people really need to be on guard this evening. Carl, let's send it right back to you. I know you're going to give us a better handle of what we can anticipate over the next several hours.
All right, Reynolds, thank you very much. We want to take a look at what's going on with severe weather right now. And again, we've got a tornado warning here in southeastern Kansas. And there's a look. Cherokee, Crawford County, that is a new warning there. And this cell is now moving off to the east, but a little to the south of east. And let's go back, if we could, Sarah, take a look at that cell that's in southeastern Kansas. Also, Labette County under tornado warning, that going until 8:45. That's a brand new warning. We mentioned that there is rotation showing up in that cell. And you see where all of this is relative to Joplin. We're very sensitive about the concern about tornadoes there in Joplin after what happened in 2011. And this cell is close. It looks like it's going to be moving to the east and towards Joplin. And it's possible that it may drop a little farther to the south. So now 2 tornado warnings in southeastern Kansas, Labette County and then Cherokee County off to the east. We'll have much more on this severe weather. Real-time analysis coming up with severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes right after the break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back as we continue to follow severe storms rolling through the middle of the country. You're looking at there on your left near Columbus, Kansas. We've seen some of the lightning strikes showing up there, and then in Lamar, Missouri, that is on the right. Both areas dealing with these storms rolling through, and a lot of these storms have had a history of producing some big-time hail as well as even some reported tornadoes.
Right, baseball-sized hail. So, guys, be ready for this. We've actually got 3 active tornado warnings right now we want to update you on. We're going to show you the radar right now, and they are lining up. and we have that tornado watch in effect until 2 o'clock in the morning. So we still have several hours to watch this and for these storms to continue to develop. So if you're not warned right now, don't think you're off the hook. We're going to watch this whole area over the next couple of hours.
That's right. So let's follow how those storms are lining up here as we get a little bit closer into southwestern Missouri as well as southeastern sections of Kansas. In the 3 storms now that have tornado warnings on them, and you can see them lining up one right behind the other. A lot of lightning associated with these storms as well. There's the first one. We'll get in here pretty close and tightly. This is for Barton as well as Jasper counties and southwestern sections of Missouri. That's just to the south of Lamar. Lamar, you are included in that tornado warning. That's out until 8:30 local time. So now is the time to seek shelter. If you have a basement, get into it immediately. If not, the innermost portion of your home, getting away from the windows. You can see there we've got that couplet showing up, that green and that red sort of just next to each other. That's where we've got that rotation showing up that is making its way on off towards the east a bit. So be on the lookout. North Fork as well as Jasper, you're in line to deal with the dangerous part of this storm.
All right, let's time this out for you, Sarah. Let's go ahead and move this forward and so we can warn folks to let them know when they're going to be maybe dealing with this tornado. If you're in Jasper, it is just now off to your left. So we think it's going to be there very soon. Jasper to be 8:20, and if you're in Dudenville, it's 8:38. Red Oak at 8:46. You don't have much time. Seek shelter immediately. So now let's go over to the next warning. We've got another one just off to the left of this that is also being warned with a tornado warning as well.
That's right, and there it is, just now west of Columbus. This is for Cherokee County. Again, we're now into Kansas, Columbus, Galena, as well as Weir cities until 8:30 local time. And we've been dealing with some issues here. In fact, in Hollowell, emergency management reported a tornado touchdown. So now we're talking about actual sighting of a tornado there just west of Columbus, and this is headed in your general direction. We timed this thing out. Columbus at about 8:15, so another couple of minutes. That's all you have now to get into your sheltered area. Let's get a live look now at how things are looking on the ground. This is near Columbus, and we're in the nighttime, dark sky, so it's going to be very tough to see anything unless we get some lightning strikes to sort of lighten up the sky a bit out there for us. But there's no doubt about it, a serious time there for you near Columbus as a tornado warned storm is moving in from the west. Right now you can sort of see a little flashing taking place there. That's on the sort of left side of your screen. Those are police lights. Not sure what those police lights are for, but they are out and about, hoping to make sure people are staying safe at this point. There you have it, heading to the east, the storm, and those are the areas that will be impacted in the next few minutes. Even Joplin, you are in line to potentially deal with that tornado warned storm.
All right, one more warning to talk about here in Lebec County. We continue to be under a tornado warning as well. This one now just to the south and west of Parsons, it looks like. Mount Pleasant may be next in line to deal with this. If you're out of Mount Pleasant, Oswego, you may be in line for this tornado. This one, again, possibly moving towards Mount Pleasant here very soon. So if you are there, take cover immediately. That tornado warning continues to be in effect. We're going to time this out for you. If you're at Mount Pleasant, 8:20. So you don't have much time for this. Stover, 8:28, 8:34 Oswego, and 8:42 Lola. So now is the time to get to your safe room. Now is the time, folks. Don't sit there and watch us. Get to your safe room now.
Absolutely. And if you're watching us from somewhere else in the country and you know someone in this area, in any of those areas that we just mentioned, go ahead and give them a call. Let them know they need to be getting into their safe place at this point.
All right, I think we're going to talk about storm reports first of all, and we're looking at some of those reports coming in. Again, we've got several funnel clouds, a couple of tornadoes already reported in parts of Kansas as we speak. There's Hallowell with a tornado reported. Emergency management, as you talked about, Alex, touching down northwest 90th at Bethlehem Road. So again, we're getting confirmed reports of these tornadoes.
That's right. All right, well, let's get you now into the lab now. We've got Carl Parker, so we're specialists tracking all this along with our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. And guys, these storms, they mean business.
They do, and we want to begin with a live picture of Joplin, Missouri. And of course, we're no strangers to severe weather here in Joplin. We had a terrible, terrible experience in 2011, and I'm sure, Dr. Greg, people are very sensitive about severe weather there in Joplin. And you've got a supercell that looks like it might be headed for Joplin at this point.
Yeah, it's beginning to angle itself a little bit more toward the east-southeast rather than due east. We have 3 supercell thunderstorms that have formed along this boundary that we've been talking about all day, separating out the warm air coming in from the south from this cooler air to the northeast. That gives the storm some extra spin, and they are spinning certainly right along that boundary. Here are the 3. There's a brand new tornado warning over in Missouri. This is the storm we've been looking at initially. You can see how it is angling itself now down toward the Joplin area, and behind that, Labette County, the second time supercell thunderstorm going in there. So 3 storms, maybe more yet to come, but these are the ones that are closest to that frontal zone. They're probably the ones with the highest chance of tornadoes, and we're getting reports there probably is a tornado in existence with that lead storm. So we'll start with that one, go back and look at the other ones. This is a tornado warning for Barton and Jasper counties. We've had some reports of damage in the area. It's scrolled past. I forget the names of the locations here, but we've had reports of some damage that was in Barton County. So tornado touchdown at Northwest 90th and Bethlehem Road in Cherokee County. So several of these storms have tornadoes with them. This one, we're getting very close to the Jasper, Missouri area. You can see the well-defined hook echo that is located there. I've timed this one out. Well, first show you the velocity. So very well-defined greens eastbound, reds going westbound. So very well-defined tornado vortex signature there, and a very tight rotation right in there, getting close to the Jasper area. Timing this one out. Coming toward Jasper right about now, right about 8:18, then heading off east-southeast toward the Kingsport area. Go to the next storm then down the line. This was the first one that had the tornado warning on it. It's getting close to Columbus, Kansas now. It's in Cherokee County, and this is the one that we've just had reports of. Tornado touchdown Northwest 90th and Bethlehem Road, just north of Hallowell in Cherokee County. So this one is producing a tornado and has produced several. The originals were near the Parsons area, so it is building itself southbound toward the Joplin area, has some rotation that's showing up right in this area. It's a little bit broad at the moment. It tightens up, it weakens. Here is the projected location of that one coming down toward the area, probably just slightly to the north of Joplin, but Carl Junction there you see at 8:39, Webb City 8:47, so that could take it about 8:45 down to the Joplin area.
And as we're looking at the radar picture here, it looks like some of the weather is now approaching, so we're going to begin with some heavy rain and some gusty wind, but then the scariest part of the storm is still fairly far off to the north and to the west. And we actually want to go out now to Reynolds Wolf. He is live in Joplin. And Reynolds, are you with us?
I am indeed with you. And, you know, it's very intense, the lightning show that we've been seeing a little bit farther to the north. Right across the road here, this 32nd Street. Beyond that, there you go. The light show. At times, you've got the entire sky that lights up. There you go. Exhibit A, B, C, D, the whole alphabet in terms of exhibits. It's been very active to the north. This street, this line has almost been the demarcation point. To the south, no activity to speak of. To the north, it's been very, very active. To the west, we've seen some flashes, but the bulk of it in that direction, guys. So certainly keeping an eye on it. Here, though, I got to tell you, not much in terms of wind at our present location. Again, the gusts come through. Certainly, I don't think we've had a drop of rainfall here yet. It really has been feast or famine in terms of the precip here.
All right, thanks so much. And we want to go take a look, another look at that storm on radar and show you what's going on with that right now.
Yeah, we'll come back and look at these in high definition. I wanted to show you the third in a series of tornado warning storm. That's Labette County, just to the south and west of Mount Pleasant. There you see a well-defined hook heading east. These storms are also accelerating a little bit, so they may arrive a few minutes earlier than the way I've timed it out. This one has very strong rotation there. The red's northbound, green southbound, and going to be heading over toward the Oswego area. And you see now, while we've been talking here, it has gone past the back edge of my projected path, but it will be coming over toward the Oswego area about 8:37, Lola about 8:46. We'll go to the high definition radar. Over in the Missouri storm, the Jasper storm has a tornado with that close to the Jasper area. You see how it hooks around, and so we'll take a look at this one in the with the velocities on this particular fold. Wow. Very strong rotation showing up very close to Jasper, asking the radar to quantify that rotation. It's up into the second color scheme, goes blues and then greens. It has briefly been higher than that. Let's circle this, and we'll ask the radar if there's debris showing up at this point. Not at this altitude, but we're up at an altitude here of about 3,800 feet. So sometimes the debris doesn't quite get that high. The next storm down the line, and I think I can get that one better looking at another radar. We're a little bit up in the in-between radars here. This is the storm that is trying to angle its way to Joplin. You see it does not have as well-defined a hook as we saw on the Missouri storm or the one to the west. What has happened is it seems like it has gone through another one of these cycles where some rain-cooled air is wrapping around it,
cut off the inflow,
cutting off some of that inflow that would come in here. Exactly. Let's take a look at that one and see the velocities on that one. There is some velocity showing up right in there just to the south and east of Columbus, and you see that it has had tornado reports in several places. So if it rebuilds and reorganizes, that could take it down to the Joplin area. And then I'm going to, let's see if there's any debris signature on that one. Not really at the moment. I'm going to slide then and zoom in a little bit and take a look at the next storm down the line. And that one has produced a tornado just off to the west of Altamont, and at this point then showing up very well with rotation in this area off between Altamont and Edna. Do we have any debris showing up at this point? It's a little ambiguous. I think most of that blue that would indicate debris is in the clear air. So at this point it seems as if the supercells rotating thunderstorms are producing brief tornadoes, but with some dry air aloft, some of that is giving pretty strong gusts that come down, wrap around, choke off the tornado. But we're not out of the woods yet. With these storms running along a frontal zone, we could get one that has a longer track to it. So we're quite frankly, we're at a little bit of a heightened alert here this evening in the Weather Channel and in the National Weather Service, and I'm sure the people in the area as well.
And right now we want to talk to Rodney Hall. He's a Weather Channel photojournalist. He's on the phone, and he's in Joplin. And what are you seeing right now, Rodney? All right, I don't know if we have Rodney right now, but you know, I wanted to ask you about the radar here. This is actually a difficult area for radar. It's far away from any of the nearest radars, isn't it?
Yeah, it's east of Wichita, it's north of Tulsa, and it's west of the Springfield radar. So that makes things a little bit difficult. But we're getting pretty good looks at it. Certainly we're seeing the supercell structure, but for that particular storm here, the western of the three, we're looking up at about 5,600 feet. So we're certainly seeing that these are supercell thunderstorms, but we're not seeing the rotation down below cloud base, which is 3,000 feet or below in these kind of instances, and that tells us a little bit more usually if there's actually a tornado in progress. But in this case, and we're plotting them over top here, we're getting spotter reports. These reports all coming from the supercell that was run off the screen. This one more recently from the storm that now is close to Altamont in Kansas.
And there is a brand new tornado warning right now for Barton County, Dade County, and Jasper County in Missouri. So we've got a new warning on one of these cells, and that is going to be that southwestern.
Yeah, that's the southwest Missouri storm. That's the lead storm here.
Yep. And we want to go now to Rodney Hall. He is a photojournalist and for the Weather Channel, and he's in Joplin right now. Rodney, what are you seeing?
Hey, Carl, I'm actually positioned right in what would appear to be an open field here, looking to my northwest. Looking at my radar here in the vehicle, I can see the storms are moving towards me. I have three boxes around me, which indicates looking like tornado warnings. So we're just looking at some real sharp lightning. Every once in a while, we'll get that real long streaks of lightning, and no wind, a little bit of wind, but no rain at this time. It's just a little bit of thunder and a lightning show.
All right, and are you hearing any sort of any lightning or thunder? Are you seeing any? Excuse me, are you hearing any thunder right now?
A little bit. Seems to be a little bit of a distance away. That little sound that you kind of hear, that's some distance away. Nothing right here in the Joplin area where I am located. I've also got my window down, kind of listening out to see if the sirens begin, but haven't heard the sirens yet. But That's all we have right now, but it looks like that it should be closing in momentarily, and we should see a little more action.
All right, and we want to also thank you, Rodney, very much. We also want to go out to Reynolds Wolf. He is live in Joplin as well. Reynolds, I don't know if you're with us right now, but, you know, this is an area that has had a terrible time with tornadoes in the past, so obviously we are a lot more concerned about tornadoes than we might be in some other parts of this country, having gone through all that not very long ago, just 4 years ago, and obviously we're watching this one very carefully. What are you seeing right now?
Still just the lightning show, and I mean we are just in awe of the spectacle. You'll have like just one quick flash, and then you'll have one that just veins across the sky. I mean, it is absolutely spectacular what we've been seeing. However, it's coupled with the danger of what these storms can do. This community where we happen to be, they know very well the power of these tornadoes. I mean, they've seen that evidence. Certainly a week ago we were in Moore, Oklahoma, same kind of thing. These people in the Central Plains are very aware of what can unfold in terms of Mother Nature, especially this time of year. They've been paying attention to the forecast. They've certainly been listening to Dr. Forbes, Carl. They've been listening to you, and right now they're watching, they're waiting, and just incredibly vigilant. They're also taking in this show too. So there's a weird combination of fear coupled with kind of amazement when you see this open up over the Central Plains.
All right, thank you so much, Reynolds. And let's go ahead and take a look at the radar picture right now and show you what's going on with these cells as they continue to move across parts of Missouri and also into southeast Kansas. There's a tornado warning now in Barton and Jasper counties, and that is where we're seeing a lot of rotation, although it looks like we're beginning to see this cell start to see some cooler air wrapping around the back side of that, so sometimes that will cut off the inflow, but there is now a tornado warning for Barton and Jasper counties. That's going until 8:30 Central Time, and then we'll take you farther off towards the south and west there. Cherokee County, tornado warning, and you see where this is relative to Joplin. So right in here, you've got this big core. That's where you've got a lot of very heavy rain and hail. That is certainly going to come across the north side of the Joplin metro, and then back in this area, right in that little notch, that's where the tornado likes to sit, right in there, and that's where we're concerned about the possibility of a tornado that may come very close to the Joplin metro there. And then farther off towards the west, we're also looking at a tornado warning in Labette County, and that includes Altamont, Mount Pleasant, and Oswego, and I believe some pretty strong rotation within that cell as well. Okay, so Sarah, you said we were going to go ahead and go to...
Yeah, put max 5 in there.
Okay, we're going to look at max 5.
I've got these timed out. We're going to do these reports really quick to show where we have the 3 active
Okay, and
tornado
so right now this is where we have gotten reports of tornadoes already. One reported tornado there in Jasper, and then off towards the west of that, another reported tornado there in Cherokee County in Hallowell. Emergency management reporting a tornado touchdown at Northwest 90th and Bethlehem Road, and then off to the west of that, Mound Valley train spotter reporting a tornado there, which damaged a shed, and then a couple more reports not very far away from there. And Dr. Greg back with me right now, and so it looks like we are seeing some of that cooler air beginning to wrap around the backside of that cell there.
Yeah, indeed we are, all of these, and I've re-queued my stack here so we can go through that and go through in detail. We're seeing a series of 3 supercell thunderstorms running along the frontal zone here from southwest Missouri into southeast parts of Kansas, tapping the colliding winds and the shifting winds. You can see how there would be a tendency for some rotation already, and the thunderstorms concentrate that as they run along this frontal zone, and the surface low there adding a little bit of extra spin as well. Quite warm, temperatures 80 degrees. So here's the big picture, and then we'll take a look at these 3 supercell tornado storms. We've just lost the tornado warning for the middle one. That is a good thing. That was the one that was coming to Joplin. There was one other storm. You can see how it's going a different direction, north and east of Tulsa. It's more an ordinary type thunderstorm.
And so they did put out a severe thunderstorm warning for Joplin right now. So that certainly is encouraging news. Maybe we can take a look at the rotation there in a moment.
We'll take a series of looks right down the line then. The leading storm still has very recently had a tornado on that near the Jasper area, you can see how this storm, there's the body of the storm, and you can see almost see the spinning coming east-southeast here right through the Jasper area. So the tornado is in that part of it. It will head down toward the Miller area across Barton, Dade, and Jasper counties. Very strong rotation located in that. Red's northbound, green southbound. That's the way. It's kind of like the police radar. It sees toward or away from the radar, toward or away from the police car in the police car case, and that's where the tornado vortex signature is located. We'll come back and look at these again with a high definition radar. Tracking that one, heading over, and I've increased the speed now to 45 miles per hour, so that's heading toward the Lockwood area. You see the times there in the white box there in the upper right.
Do you think that we're going to see the RFD wrap around here and begin to choke off that inflow?
Yeah, it looks like it's trying to do that. Maybe another 20 minutes or so, and it will do that. But that doesn't mean the whole storm is done. It can
just cycle
through. Recycle and redevelop. This is the storm that we began with a tornado warning on. That's the one that we've been worried about. That's the one that's heading closest to Joplin. It has a severe thunderstorm warning now for Cherokee County in Kansas and for the Joplin, Missouri area as it angles its way that way. You can see there the rotation is close to the intersection of Highway 400 and a Highway 160 there, but it seems to have lost some of the rotation at this point, and it definitely, you can see
not a strong signature there.
The hook is right in there, not the strong red and green kind of color couplet that we saw on the storm over in Missouri. And taking then a track of this, should it begin to rotate again, Joplin is right about in here, so I have it tracking ever so slightly this to the north of Joplin, more over to the area just to the south of Carthage. But again, we're not out of the woods yet then in terms of should this storm rotate and take a jog to the south.
Is it helping us in this case that the storm is running a little farther to the east? Is it running away from that zone where the greatest vorticity or spin is?
I think it may be, although sometimes these storms will generate their own kind of small-scale fronts, their own boundaries, if you will, and run along those. And often the storm-generated boundaries have a bigger temperature gradient and wind shift on them than do the large-scale frontal zone. So once the storms get in progress, and the second or third storm could run along the boundary left by the first one. So sometimes things get pretty complicated in this kind of a one after another storm situation. Labette County in Kansas, this is the second time you've had tornado warning, the second of the severe storms through there. This one has had a tornado on it. The tracking of this one still showing maybe a little bit of an attempt to gust out. The circulation is down in the red and greens there. And
Dr. Greg, we want to switch over here and take a look at a tornado warning in Ohio.
Wow.
Now well off to the north and east, and now just north and east of Dayton.
This is that same frontal zone. In this case, it's an advancing cold front that is moving across the area. So I believe I saw the tornado warning for Clark County in Ohio, and Sarah's running this radar for us. You can see pretty well-defined circulation there. The red's going northbound, the green's going southbound. So definitely in areas north of, near the Northampton area, near the Bethel area, and then heading towards Springfield, Ohio. So this is generally toward the Dayton, Xenia, Ohio type area of
guys,
southwest Ohio.
I'm going to time this out really quick. Give me just
Sarah's
1
going
second.
to track it out for us. We have been seeing mostly today storms along this line that had some hail. We've seen earlier we were seeing storms that were near the Columbus, Indiana area. These are some of these same general area of storms now that have moved over into Ohio. So coming to Springfield there about 9:48 p.m. as this heads slightly south of eastbound.
Would you expect that the circulation in this case would be more of a short-lived circulation?
I would think so, yes, but you can never say never in terms of how these storms will operate, and it certainly does have a pretty well-defined circulation showing up with it, at least at this time.
All right, we'll continue to follow everything on radar very carefully. Right now, we want to get back to Kim and Alex in the studio, guys.
All right, thanks so much, guys. Well, we want to actually get onto the ground because we've got storm chasers out that are following these storms as well.
All right, Ben McMillan joins us now on the phone. Ben, thanks for joining us. We hope you're keeping safe. Looking at the radar right now, where are you in proximity to where the possible tornado is right now near Oswego?
Hi, Alex. We're westbound on Highway 160.
Okay, so
and we're
west-southwest of Golden City, Missouri. We have a tornado reported.
Alex, we're just west of Oswego on Highway 160, and this community is dealing with the second tornado warning of the day. So this couple will be moving into town very shortly here, and we'll let you know if we have any damage.
Now, Ben, I know you were in Parsons earlier. Can you tell us how the storm sort of rolled its way through the city there?
Mainly just some large hail in town. There's definitely some stronger winds, but the majority of those stronger winds passed the south city of Parsons. We were grateful for that, obviously, and I think the majority of the more significant winds occurred east of that community.
And Ben, as far as where you are in the storm that you're on right now, any concerns about getting in the hail core with this one?
As we entered the city of Oswego here, we had some pea-sized to marble-sized hail, but nothing larger than that at this point. The core has yet to reach the city yet, so we'll let you know shortly here if we have anything larger.
Okay, we appreciate that. Again, we're looking right now. There's still a tornado warning in effect, and we're going to time this out for you here in Labette County. As Ben McMillan is in Oswego right now watching this for us. This is until 8:45. Adamant, Mount Pleasant, and Oswego under the warning right now. And we still have another tornado warning to tell you about in Missouri. We'll focus on that in a minute. But check out the storm reports coming in. We've got numerous tornado reports at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Golden City, one of those spots there in Missouri that has had a reported tornado. Off just to the west of that as well. Several into southeastern sections of Kansas there. Tornado reports from emergency management officials. Even in Jasper, there's we get into Missouri, and there's a few more of those there. Hollowell's another spot that dealt with a tornado being reported there as well. So again, these storms mean business is if you are under a warning now, like you are in Barton, Dade, and Jasper counties here in southwestern Missouri. That includes Golden City, Jasper, and Lockwood. Now is the time to get into that safe portion of your home. Timing out the storm here as it's tracking its way just on off towards the sort of south and east. Maple Grove 838, Red Oak 848, Grays Point 850, and they're in Miller. If this thing holds together 903, it'll be in your neck of the woods.
All right, a severe thunderstorm warning now in effect here in Cherokee County. This was early a tornado warning, but it does look like it's lost a lot of its rotation. So now just a severe thunderstorm warning, at least right now. So if you are in Webb City, this is going to be heading toward Joplin. The storm is just north of you right now, maybe coming in on the southern edge of the storm. Joplin 849 is when the core of the storm will get to you guys. We could see some large hail with this.
Indeed, and we want to show you how things are looking in Joplin right now. And again, that storm is getting very, very close right now under a severe thunderstorm warning, which is good news. That storm that is moving in was a tornado warned storm, and that could certainly change very quickly. So keep your guard up and know what is happening. Keep abreast of the weather situation as we see the lightning strikes. They're flashing there in the night sky in Joplin.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We have a tornado warning now in effect here in Jasper, Cherokee, and Newton County. This is until 9:30 Central Time. If you live here, take cover immediately. Get to the lowest level of your home, interior room. Stay away from the window. And notice Joplin, Missouri is in the line of this tornado threat. So please, if you are in Joplin, now is the time to get to your safe room right now. Again, we're going to time this out for you. And this is what it looks like, 8:56 in Joplin. So you have about 15 minutes or so. So now is the time to get there. 9 o'clock in Carterville, 9:15 in Diamond, 9:20 in Parsley. As a matter of fact, the sirens are going off right now in Joplin, and we do have a live crew there tonight. Reynolds Wolf is there in Joplin, and we're going to get to him right now, as a matter of fact. Reynolds, are you joining us? What are you hearing right now?
Okay. Well, we got the sirens going off here in Joplin. Sirens are going off. We had some people here at the hotel actually came out to take a look at the sky. They've gone inside to take shelter. We're probably going to do the same thing fairly soon. For now, we're in a very safe spot, however. We're keeping an eye on the development that we have just to our north. My goodness. Now, folks, the thing that's amazing about this, you hear this in the safety of your homes. There are so many people in the Central Plains that have to deal with it. This is a way of life, and certainly that's a way of life on this evening in Joplin, Missouri. The sound of these sirens reverberating, telling people to take cover immediately, to take action. A lot of these people already know the plan. Center room, lowest room, you can go underground, certainly the safest place, away from windows, away from doors. Best place to be, guys. Unbelievable. Those sirens in this community that's already dealt with so much. The last thing they want to deal with is another round, but right now, with this atmosphere so primed, so juiced, and seeing all the action just to our north and some development farther to our southwest, with every reason, they're certainly on guard. Again, guys, let's toss it right back to you, please.
All right, Reynolds, thank you very much. And one thing that we can tell you, we've been looking at the rotation within this cell here in Joplin, and at least right now, it's not the most robust circulation we've ever seen.
No, it is not, but it is certainly more than the last time we talked because it has redeveloped a hook echo, and that's hook echo now, as you can see, with it heading east-southeast, that puts Joplin in the threat. So at the moment, it is a Doppler indicated. What we know what the storm has done recently is had some golf ball size hail in the core of the storm that should go to the north suburbs of Joplin. But we are in a tornado warning there for parts of Cherokee, Jasper, and Newton counties, and that includes the Joplin area, that includes Carthage, that includes the Webb City area. Here in the high definition radar, I'll want to slide this up, I guess, and take a look. Here's the high definition radar, shows the hook echo that we're talking about. There's the hail core. There's the rotating supercell thunderstorm giving you the hook echo. So the tornado likes to sit right in there. So that would be getting perilously close to the Joplin area. Let me zoom in just a little bit more. We'll take a look and investigate this particular storm. Not an incredibly intense rotation with it. The strongest red and green is up in the area that would head toward the Webb City area just north of Joplin.
So this is encouraging right now that it's not the strongest circulation. It does not look like it's going to be the type of tornado that we saw 4 years ago.
Well, yeah, this does not look like 4 years ago. That's certainly the case. The strongest circulation at the moment is up in there, but what worries me are these little filaments of rain that are coming out in here that are liable to give a new circulation about at that location. So let me again put where the rotation is now. It's probably strongest, and I'll draw a red one of that. At the moment, it's probably up in here, but I'm worried about potentially some new circulation that would develop a little bit farther to the south, and that would take it right into Joplin. So this is a very fluid situation, that's for sure. Asking the radar to quantify the rotation, it's all down at the moment in the lowest of the rotation measures here as the radar counts the change of velocity. And now with a new frame that has come in, the hook has formed a little bit stronger back up in that northern portion rather than the southeast driving filament that I was worried about. So we're certainly not out of the woods, but certainly we are not getting the kind of monster supercell monster tornado circulation like we saw back in May 22nd, 2011, but it certainly is a fluid, evolving situation, Carl.
All right, and let's go back out to Reynolds Wolf right now live in Joplin. Reynolds, what are you seeing right now?
Latest thing we had, the sirens have stopped. We're still under the warning, though. That being said, actually just walked in the hotel, told people to take shelter. We're going to take shelter fairly soon. Rodney Hall, one of our photojournalists, is with us. Rodney's here for the time being. Rodney, from where you were coming in, I know you were on the other side of town. When you were coming through, sirens there too. I know you heard them.
Yes, I was just this away, over this way, about a little bit to the east here from where you are here.
Yeah.
Wind started picking up, the sirens started blaring, and it was getting a little bit weary, so I decided I'd better start moving towards where you guys are. So if I needed to
part of their local.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's certainly the case. A lot of folks are doing that. Guys, we're going to sit. Rodney, thanks so much. Guys, we're going to probably take cover fairly soon. Again, tornado warning still remains in effect for the area. A lot of people already taking cover. The sirens were on moments ago, if you missed it. Sirens now quiet. The wind picking up, and we're just listening. Not much activity saved to the storms that we see to our north, but still waiting a little bit back to our northwest. All right, guys, let's kick it back to you in the studio.
All right, so once again, watching a tornado warning here in Joplin, Missouri. What we have seen so far in the velocity data is that we're not looking at the strongest of circulations. There is certainly a circulation there, but we're not looking at an incredibly strong circulation coming into Joplin.
No, but that said, we certainly have a hook echo, a storm that is trying to organize shown by virtue of that hook echo that is better than it was 15 minutes ago. So that makes us nervous. Anytime these hooks start to get better organized, that generally tends to mean that their rotation is beginning to strengthen aloft, and sometimes that manifests itself down to the ground, sometimes it doesn't. By the way, we were watching a tornado warning in the Clark County, Ohio area. That has expired, and so the action mostly right now is in southwest Missouri and southeast Kansas in terms of the tornado warnings.
And the critical time for Joplin is really going to be in the next few minutes here, isn't it?
It really is. The next few minutes, we're about let's see, about 8:45, so the next 15 minutes are 8:50. So the timeline there for that circulation and that gust front possibly coming in would be about by 9 o'clock, and just slightly after 9 o'clock. If at that point, at least this supercell thunderstorm, the tornado threat should have passed. There are other storms that are farther out to the west there, and we can't in Kansas, and we can't rule them out, but they'll probably go farther to the south.
Also, warning here for Barton, Dade, and Jasper counties. We're still seeing an interesting structure here as that cooler air tries to wrap around, but just a lot of circulation in this storm, and you can actually see elements of the radar well away from the core rotating there off to the north and to the east with this storm.
Yeah, and that storm about 15 minutes ago had a reported tornado about 5 miles west-southwest of Golden City in Barton County, Missouri. So this one is one that has a stronger hook echo on it than the storm that's coming into Joplin. Right now, the circulation is right about in here now, probably just slightly to the south of Golden City and heading over toward the south and the Ash Grove areas. And you see the approximate times there, 9:08 and 9:23. So this is a storm that is history of producing tornadoes.
Sarah, can we take a look at the velocity data on this and see what's going on with this particular cell?
If this is my stack, it probably is in there.
Okay, there we go. All right, very good.
And so here, this has very strong velocities. In fact, 2 scales of velocities. One that is probably the tornado, that circulation right there, and then you see something that's a little bit larger than that. That's probably the wall cloud, or what we sometimes call the mesocyclone of this storm. So there's a tornado signature there that's located in, and let me find the arrow. That would be right under the Highway 37 signature coming over toward the south area with pretty strong rotation all the way up to Golden City and down to that kink in the road in Highway 37.
And we're actually seeing a little bit of a donut there in the high resolution radar on that very cell as it moves in, but nothing in the correlation coefficient. So there is some cautiously encouraging news there.
Yeah, and this is certainly, in this case, this is the kind of tornado here, though, that based on the radar may be rain-wrapped. The good news is there that if there were a correlation coefficient donut hole there, we would see it. We don't have the problem of the clear air return. The bad news is that even with the lightning illuminating the skies here, if it's wrapped in rain out in front of it, you may not see it coming. So you want to be taking shelter based upon the warning that we've just been giving you, or the warning that you're getting scrolling across your screen.
All right, sirens still going off right now in Joplin, Missouri. Tornado warning for Joplin as we speak. We'll go back to the cell and take a look at the latest radar scans. At least what we've seen so far is not the strongest of circulations, but a circulation nonetheless, and a tornado warning in effect for a town that was devastated by a tornado 4 years ago, May 22nd, 2011. What's going on with the radar right now, Dr. Graham?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at this one on the high definition radar. What we're seeing here in the velocity signature is a bit of a broad circulation. It looks to me as if we're getting a lot of, again, getting a lot of rain-wrapped air, a rear flank downdraft, a gust front that is surging forward and maybe trying to overtake the storm. So it does have, it is getting very close to Joplin at this point. It has a circulation right about in there, but that what might sometimes be a hook echo that curls counterclockwise is turning more back into one of these lean back structures that suggest maybe it is what we sometimes call outflow dominant, which means that the rain-cooled air is surging forward and overtaking some of the updraft area. We'll hope that's the case. There could be strong wind gusts coming into the area. We're not seeing any blue donut holes here that would suggest the debris signature of an in-progress tornado. What we have had has been a report north and west of Webb City at Carl Junction of 1.5 inch. That would be ping pong ball size hail. And there probably is bigger than that coming toward the area north of Webb City.
All right, we want to go out now to Reynolds Wolf. He is live in Joplin on the phone for us. Reynolds, I know you're in the hotel. How are people reacting there?
They took shelter immediately. When we had that first alarm that came off, the first tornado siren, rather, was in the lobby just telling folks to take cover, which they did very quickly. Right now, we are actually looking out the door of the front of the hotel. With every flash you have, it illuminates well to our north, that immense line of storms. We're keeping our eye on the horizon. Can't see much, understandably so. This is proof positive why it is so dangerous to get out and try to chase these kind of things at night when you don't have the benefit of a clear field of vision. The wind is picking up. The raindrops a bit more numerous than they were, say, several hours ago. Hard to believe that we started this afternoon off with partly cloudy skies. We roll into the evening, and we have this. Still, plenty of lightning, a lot of noise well to our north for the time being. Up towards Jasper, again, we had some action up there. Out to the west, we've certainly seen some development. Guys, I don't know if you can hear me back in the center. I did see on radar a little bit more development to our southwest along parts of 44. Is there any chance that we could see some of those cells drift right up there and actually come behind this community, or is still the biggest threat well to our north?
I think we could see another cell come in there. We'll take a look at that here in just a moment, Reynolds. I wanted to ask you very quickly, you know, the import of a situation like this is obviously big in a town that's been hit so hard by a tornado, and the weight of a tornado siren going off, I'm sure, is greater than it might be in a lot of other cases. Have you talked to anyone there today about their feeling about severe weather that is imminent there?
Absolutely. You know, it is hard to believe just how savvy the people are in this community. It makes total sense in Joplin considering all they've been through. It reminds me very similar to what we spoke with last week with the great people of Moore, Oklahoma. Sirens going off again. It is a way of life this time of year when you have these severe weather outbreaks. I will tell you, Carl and Dr. Forbes, we actually spoke with some locals earlier today. Spoke with a 5-year-old girl, and I asked her what happens when the sirens go off. Her response, no hesitation, take cover. So they're in tune. They know.
Yeah.
And right now, they're certainly paying heed to these warnings. Let's send it back to you.
All right, Reynolds, thank you so much. People very well versed in that part of the world, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and rightfully so. And to answer Reynolds' question, the storm that he's seeing probably off farther to the west is one that earlier had a tornado warning. It was number 3 of what we were talking about.
Still showing a hook.
It still shows a hook on it. It has no warnings at all at the moment on it. But it may re-intensify, but it has been showing some movement off toward the east-southeast, as have the others. And so
maybe
as long as that continues, there may be some hail come into Joplin from that particular storm, but probably if it were to intensify and get a tornado warning again, that would probably mean it would turn to the right and go more toward Baxter Springs in Kansas and miss Joplin to the south. The more it's an ordinary thunderstorm, the more likely it is to come with hail perhaps into the Joplin area, but not a tornado threat. So that would be my best forecast at the moment.
You know, how is it that here in the plains, you know, a lot of times people have experience with thunderstorms in the east where you get a lot of storms and then it's over, the atmosphere has been worked over and it's done. That doesn't always happen in the plains, does it?
No, it really doesn't, and especially in a case like today because there's a front along the area, so that front is giving some overall squeezing, and you're able to get multiple thunderstorms. It's a stationary front too. Often in some parts of the country, it's a cold front, and so you get one shot, then the cold front comes through, brings in northwest flow, drier, colder, stable air. Not in this case with a stationary front. The warm, moist air keeps pushing in from the south. The storms keep running along that frontal zone. There's a little bit of a gradual creep south and east of this one, I think, but there could be multiple storms hitting Joplin.
Can we take another look at the high-resolution radar there in Joplin and get a look at the latest scan and see what's going on? Okay, we'll time this out, and this is just about ready to come into Joplin, the most dangerous part of this storm. And again, so far, what we have seen is not the strongest of circulations, but a circulation nonetheless.
Yeah, and you're seeing more and more here this sort of backwards C-shape, the line, suggesting it's a little bit more outflow dominant than it is rotation dominant at this time. So damaging winds, but still that brings the chance of a tornado. Here we've gone to the high-definition radar, and I'll push its position just a little bit. So here is Joplin. Let's see.
Circulation now is just very close to the airport. They just said in the
Circulation pretty close to the airport. The circulation previously has been mostly up at the Webb City region. I'll take a look here in the storm relative velocities. And there is a little spot there of a possible tornado right about there. So let's, while we have that circled, see if we have any debris signature on that. I do not see any little blue speck there. So at the moment, we believe that this is Doppler indicated. And that was a pretty small speck on a wee little appendage there in that broader, what I'm thinking is a gust front coming out. So certainly a possibility of winds that could be hitting a number of places. Certainly a possibility of a tornado in that line. Oh, there.
New scan.
Now a brand new scan has come in, so we've had a well-defined hook echo there coming in up around the Webb City area. And let's see if we've got a new velocity that's come in with that one. That one, too, is showing some circulation right about as the broader circulation. And we seem to, there may be another little bit of circulation right in there. Let me go back to the regular. So we still continue to have the one we saw a moment ago with that possible tornado closer into Joplin, another possible tornado up closer to the main body of the storm. So that's kind of characteristic. If you get a gust front coming out, you can have multiple centers. Usually if there's going to be a bigger tornado, it will be up closer to the place where the forward flank downdraft of the thunderstorm intersects with the rear flank downdraft, and that's where the mesocyclone is. So that would be more closer to the Webb City area, but Joplin certainly not out of the woods. We saw this kind of a thing, Carl, last Wednesday night when we had a big storm to the north, put out a gust front. It got a circulation in it. That's the one that gave a low-end EF2 tornado for Moore. So it's not out of the question that something like that could happen for Joplin. In this case, though, we're not having a cold front that's outrun the main storm here, so we could get a tornado coming also to the Webb City area and in between Carthage and Fidelity.
And we should point out this circulation that we are seeing on this cell is the strongest that we have seen so far since there was a tornado warning for Joplin. I wonder if the CC is in now, if we could take a look at the correlation coefficient, if we're seeing anything there. It looks to be ambiguous.
Looks pretty ambiguous at this point. We would expect to be seeing the tornadoes. Let me see, where's my white line here? The tornado circulation in here, another possible in there, and we are not seeing a very slight reduction in the correlation coefficient in that area. So, and maybe a little bit in there, but it's pretty much ambiguous. Certainly nothing that jumps out at us as a big tornado in progress.
So yeah, so people know we'd be looking for a big blue circle
ball,
right there. That would tell us there's a lot of debris in the air, and we're definitely not seeing that, at least not right now. And it looks like we're getting more of that RFD right in there.
There's been an unconfirmed report of a funnel cloud in Webb City there.
Okay. So we've got a funnel cloud in Webb City. That is right where that more pronounced circulation is. Again, still a tornado warning in Joplin, perhaps a smaller circulation closer to Joplin, a more pronounced circulation to the north near Webb City, where a funnel cloud has been spotted, in this tornado warning going until 9:30 Central Time.
And that Webb City was the northern of the circulations, the one that I was saying was close to up in the inside of the hook echo. Up in right in there, as opposed to this little notch that's down closer into the Joplin area. That little notch, by the way, now is run off to the north and east of Joplin, and what we're continuing to see is the main character of the storm is this, what is likely to be a gust front.
This is the RFD, as it's called.
Yeah, the rear flank downdraft that is wrapping around the northwest side of the storm. The inflow comes in here, and the main rotation of the storm is up near Webb City, where there's been a possible tornado. We're mainly getting probably winds that will, if they're not already, and we can maybe find out from Reynolds if he can tell us if they're getting strong shifted winds there coming into Joplin.
And when you've got a strong circulation like that, you can have a very strong RFD. You could have winds of 70, 80 miles per hour.
Oh, absolutely. Right? And this is the kind of day you could have that, because there's dry air aloft that gets pulled into the side of the storm. Rain evaporates into that. That continues to accelerate downward, and then it blasts forward as it hits into the ground.
All right, let's go out to Reynolds right now in Joplin. And Reynolds, are you seeing that wind shift yet?
We are definitely feeling a wind shift. What's interesting is from our location, the wind feels a little bit more northwesterly. We'll have an occasional, but I mean, in terms of the component, earlier this afternoon, gentlemen, it was south, it was southeast, southwest by late afternoon, but now everything is really coming in northwest.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking, Reynolds. We were thinking that you had gotten into what we're calling the rear flank downdraft, the northwest flow, behind the gust front that's coming out of this storm, and we sort of anticipated that, and Reynolds has confirmed, and it looks like now probably by all indications, the main threat of a tornado would be just slightly to the east and southeast of Joplin, and then up to the northeast into the Webb City area, heading over toward Carthage and Fidelity. in southwest parts of Missouri.
So the bad news there in Joplin is that we could be talking about 70, 80 mile per hour winds coming across Joplin. The good news is it looks less likely that we're going to see a tornado in Joplin now.
Yeah, certainly that is well said, Carl.
And we want to go back out to Reynolds now. Reynolds, what can you tell us about what's happening there now?
What's happening now is we still have the tornado sirens going off. I know you can hear them quite well. They're reverberating across the community. The rain is actually starting to intensify a little bit. That's one feature we really have not dealt with all afternoon and certainly into the evening hours. Hail, haven't seen it. Nothing at our location, just the shifting of the wind. We still have the rain very light in nature. Big drops, but we still see the bulk of the lightning relatively to our north. But I got to tell you guys, Carl and Dr. Forbes, we're beginning to see more of the lightning from our present location moving a bit more to the northeast. It appears to be the bulk of this moving away.
Yeah,
very interesting.
That would make
farther
sense.
to the west, not much of anything.
Yeah, the core of that storm is now off to your north and east, Reynolds, but there is another storm off to the west. We've got a warning now for Cherokee County, so this is just due west of Joplin, and this one may not be moving as much to the southeast as the previous cell.
No, it's not rotating as strongly. Just an update also, the storm up farther to the northeast in Missouri, still a tornado warning for Dade and Lawrence County in southwest Missouri. But I was just looking at the radar on that one, and it's not rotating as strongly as it had either. But you can see it getting a little less organized. At the very beginning, I think you can really see how strong the rotation was there. That part of the rotation is still heading toward the Smith area, but we have not for a little while now seen any reports of tornadoes on that. There was a report 5 miles west-southwest of Golden City in Barton County from this storm.
But boy, is that a rotating storm right there. That thing has really been churning for a while now.
Indeed, the storm that you were talking about that might still be heading toward the Joplin area is in between Columbus and Baxter Springs, and it looks like it could be producing some pretty large hail. The question is, will the fact that some of the cold air has already come into Joplin, will that cause the storm then to take a little bit of a right turn and or weaken as it comes into Joplin rather than coming right into Joplin with golf ball size or larger hail?
All right, we'll continue to watch the radar picture very closely. We want to go over to Kim right now, who has the latest from someone in Joplin. Go ahead, Kim.
All right, thanks, guys. We have Laura Hahn on the phone right now. Laurie, thank you for joining us. She is huddled in her basement right now in Joplin, Missouri. Tell us your experience. Tell us, if you survived, well, actually, I know you survived, but you went through the tornado 4 years ago, and what you're feeling right now.
We're fine. We're in the basement. Tornado stuff happens every so often here, but we didn't. Our house was not destroyed. We had a house that was. Lots of our friends and stuff were. So we take it definitely a little bit more seriously than we probably did before the big tornado.
So did you make preparations? Were you aware earlier today of the situation tonight?
We knew that there was a storm supposed to come in, but, this happened a lot.
Right. Unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
So, do you already have a safe room? You already knew where you're going to go. You've got supplies. Do you guys in Joplin, is that how you think now?
Yeah, you definitely, make sure everybody's got a place to go, and, that you, because before sometimes you would, I was just getting the kids in bed, and before sometimes you'd be like, oh, well, let's just wait and, see if we actually need to wake them up or what,
Right.
And now you're like, okay, let's just go to the basement.
Oh, my gosh. And speaking of kids, how are they doing? How many are there with you?
We've got two. We've got two boys, 5 and 10.
And how are they doing?
They're fine. They're a little stressed about it. The little one, of course, he doesn't remember it at all, but he still, understands. I think there's still a lot of residual, people being a little scared of tornadoes and stuff, just through peripheral. And then the older one, definitely remembers that he was a kindergartner, his school got wiped out and everything. So it was, he's bringing toys to the basement and stuff with us.
That's right. That's what you got to do. You have the toys and maybe read to them, things like that. It's very traumatic for children. And Laurie, we're going to hopefully We're going to be with you here tonight. If you need anything, let us know. We will keep in touch with you, or you can call us back. We'd love to hear from you again. That was Laurie Hahn here in Joplin, Missouri, and we wish you guys all the best there in Joplin.
Yeah, great to hear, you know, knowing exactly what to do getting into that basement, which is what you need to do when those tornado warnings come out. All right, well, we still have tornado warnings. 2 storms with the warnings on them right now, so let's take it back to the lab now. We've got storm specialist Carl Parker tracking these storms.
All right, so we still have a warning in the Joplin Metro. Tornado warning in effect right now for Jasper and Newton counties. That going until 9:30. Now, what we can tell you is that the more pronounced circulation is right in there. So that is now north and east of Joplin. Right in here, what you've got, and maybe, Sarah, we could get a little bit tighter there. What we've got in Joplin is some cooler air that is dropping down just behind that circulation. So it's right in there. That is what's called the RFD. And actually, right like that is that cooler air that's wrapping in and behind this thunderstorm, and that is what is coming through Joplin right now. So that really does bring down your tornado threat in Joplin. There is a circulation there, but it's a larger circulation, maybe a little bit tighter. Now just east of Webb City, and we did have a report of a funnel cloud there near Webb City, but at least right now it looks like things are settling down a bit in Joplin. Could be some stronger wind coming through with that cooler air wrapping around the backside. And here is your tornado warning as we time it out, getting down into Carthage at 9:18, and then Fidelity 9:21, and then 9:33 into Reeds. Now, maybe we can take a look at what's going on farther west here, and then Cherokee County. We've got another circulation. You notice the appendage right in there. So this is the same kind of thing. This is a rotating storm where you've got inflow coming in right here, and you've got cooler air wrapping around on the backside. So it's definitely a rotating storm, just not rotating to the point where a tornado warning is being issued. Just a severe thunderstorm warning. No doubt some very large hail in the core of that storm, and that could be headed very much for Joplin or maybe just a little south there. And there you see the timing getting over into Joplin, 9:42, the most dangerous part of that storm. But the core, certainly in the hail, could be arriving even more quickly than that. Looks like this storm is moving more to the east, maybe a little south of east as compared to the last one, which was really solidly east-southeast, a right mover as we call it. Turning to the right as it was moving along towards the east there. And then farther to the north, a tornado warning on a cell that has been rotating for a very, very long time. In fact, let's put the radar in motion once again. It's interesting how sometimes when you look at the radar here, you can actually see spinning. And this is the case certainly with this cell. See, there's the circulation right there. Look at the cloud elements off to the north and east of that circulation. You can see how they're actually turning like this. So that entire storm just really rotating there, and a tornado warning continuing for Dade and Lawrence counties, that going until 9:30. And Sarah, maybe we could blow out a little bit, take a larger look at a couple of cells that are developing off to the north as well.
I'm going to time this one out.
Okay, let's go ahead and time this out first of all. And so the core of this storm is right there. That's where the hail is. But then the inflow is right in there. Our circulation is going to be sitting in here. That's the area. And there's definitely a well-developed circulation very much in place there. Now that, if it holds together, could come very close to Springfield. It is moving a little bit south of due east. And so we're talking about 1020 there in Springfield. And so this is something we're going to want to keep a very close eye on. So heads up there in Springfield. It's a ways away now. It's now just about 13 minutes after the hour. So we've got a good hour to watch this, and we'll see if it does hold on to its rotation. But if it does, it could be headed right for Springfield. So we want you, if you're in Springfield, we want you to stay with us as we continue to track this storm. Bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings here, and all of these cells, if you notice, all these cells have these little appendages on the southwest side, so they are all showing a little bit of rotation, just not enough rotation for them to be called tornado producing storms by the National Weather Service. But at this point they are showing rotation, and certainly large hail and damaging wind will be a threat. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning here right along the Route 59 and south of 166, and that is for Craig and Nowata County. That's going until 9:45. And then there's this, I can't remember the exact pronunciation. I know it's not Miami. Miami. Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. And severe thunderstorm warning for Miami, and that's off to the east of that, and then a severe warning off to the south of that as well, right along 44 or just a little south. Heads up there in Grove. That is for Craig, Delaware, and Mays counties. Damaging winds, certainly a possibility along with that cell. All right, so let's go back one more time into Joplin, if we could, Sarah, and take a look at what's going on right there. And again, it looks like we are through the worst of it at this point in Joplin. There is still a tornado warning in effect that's going until 9:30, but let's zoom on down and show folks where the worst of this storm is located. Now, we saw a little circulation right along the leading edge. So what's happening here, that little notch is where warm air is coming into the storm, and then right in here is where you've got cooler air wrapping around the backside, and it's right along that interface where the rotation is. And so that's near Brooklyn Heights right now, but you see where that is relative to Joplin. So it's off to your north and to your east. Right now you're getting into that cooler outflow, I should say, on the backside of the storm, and there we see a broad rotation, maybe a tighter circulation right in there. So a heads up possibly in Fidelity, but it looks like at this time, it looks like damaging wind is going to be your primary concern there in Joplin until the next storm comes, and there is another storm that is on the way there in Joplin. Big old hail core now coming right across Carthage as we speak, and we're going to go ahead and time this out and take it off to the south and east.
Funnel cloud reported in Webb City.
Okay.
This may have been a few moments ago. Yeah, this was about 4 minutes ago.
That's right. We had a very well-defined circulation there in Webb City, and that circulation is going to come down towards Fidelity about 9:26, get over into Motley at 9:39, Sarcoxy 9:46, and then into Wentworth at 9:54. And there you go. There's Webb City right there, and that's where we did have a funnel cloud not very long ago. So these storms are still very dangerous as they're rolling across southwest Missouri. One more time, let's go back up to the other one that is headed generally for Springfield too and see what's going on with that. Again, this cell has been warned on. It's had a tornado warning on it for a very long time. Rapidly rotating cell here, although the circulation is broad, it's certainly rotating, and that's a warning for Dade and Lawrence counties. And as we time the core of that storm out, if it does continue to hold together and rotate the way that it is, this may eventually pose a threat to Springfield. It's probably somewhere in the order of about 50 minutes away from the west side of Springfield, and is now moving off towards the east-southeast, a little south of east. Circulation is going to be right in there, and we'll time that out and take it into Springfield. So that's getting into Springfield about 10:22. So actually looking at about an hour or so to downtown Springfield, but probably about 50 minutes into the western suburbs of Springfield there. So we continue to follow these dangerous storms, and we'll reset here and take a look at the radars, and go back to Kim and Alex right now. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Carl. We appreciate it so much. We want to update everybody on what has been happening and some of the reports that we have gotten here tonight. Already, we've had 7 reports of tornadoes, 3 of them in Kansas, 2 in Missouri, 1 in Colorado here tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Some of those coming in from emergency managers. Mound Valley, that was one of the areas, as well as Hollowell, reporting some of those tornadoes touching down. Baseball-sized hail. Right. Also, some of the things that we've been seeing reported, not just there into Kansas, but also into Missouri, some of that big hail as well. So, yeah, these storms have definitely meant business there from Kansas into Missouri, and they are still ongoing.
And we did have a funnel cloud reported north of Joplin here earlier, just actually not too long ago, in Webb City. And this is right now looking live at that storm. Actually, this was earlier. Okay, this is Laurie Hahn, this is who we talked to earlier. Some of the video from her home, and look at the lightning. Wow. So again, she's lived through the tornado 4 years ago and joined us earlier on the phone and talked about her and her kids being in the basement. Now we're going to show you live pictures right now, live video of Joplin, Missouri, where looking for some flashes of lightning. Looks like, at least right now, not much going on. But there is another storm off to our west we are watching that could be coming into the Joplin area. So you guys aren't off the hook yet. We have another one that is coming in that could bring some very strong winds and some hail as well.
Yeah, that's right. The first storm there at Joplin, we heard the sirens that were going off for quite a while. It was an eerie sound, no doubt about it. But that storm now off to the east. So from that particular storm, out of the danger. But as Kim was mentioning, there is another storm to the west. A severe thunderstorm warning is in place on that. So we're going to be watching that very, very closely here. Right now, that storm is just to the north and west of Baxter Springs in southeastern portions of Kansas. So again, a lot to track here for you. In Joplin right now, we're getting a bit of a lull between storms. One moving now to your east, another one, though, to your west.
All right, so you guys still have a little bit longer before this is over with. Check it out. This is the radar showing some of the storms that are still looking at severe threat. We have a tornado warning now in effect for Craig and Nowata County. And is radar indicated at this time? That just means there's circulation. We're seeing some circulation with this thunderstorm that could produce a tornado. So you have to treat it like there is one actually on the ground. Get to the lowest level of your home, interior room, stay away from the windows. Again, this is to the south and west of Joplin. This is until we're going to time this out for you. If you're in, it looks like Welch, it's 9:59 when it gets there. At 10:23, it's in Miami. And at 10:44, Wyandotte. So it's moving east very quickly. You know, we're probably going to get some strong winds with this. But again, a tornado warning. There is circulation being seen on this thunderstorm.
Yeah, so we've gone from dealing with Missouri, Kansas, now on into Oklahoma. So another area to watch very, very closely. Let's head it on to the lab now. We've got storm specialist Carl Parker tracking some of these storms at this point, as well as severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes. What do you see with this new warning?
Well, a whole collection of storms that are showing some rotation, but some stronger than others. And this one actually showing some very strong rotation right now.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, it has a storm scale rotation that's up in the middle of the precipitation, and then it has a hook that's down in the southwest side. Tornado warning for Craig and Nowata counties there in northeast Oklahoma. Let's see, who is Sarah? Are you controlling this, or who is controlling the radars here? Can we go to the?
Yeah, let's just go to Gibson
Ridge 18. For this one, we'll take a look at a high definition radar of this particular storm, and it has some interesting structure to that. All right, I'll pull it over into.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. There's the one we're looking for.
Yep.
And here you see the very well-defined hook.
Yeah.
There's also some spiral nature to the body of the storm. And so let's take a look at these two and take a look at the velocities that go along with that. Very interesting.
Wow.
In that there are two rotation centers.
Wow.
There is one rotation center right there, a green couplet. You could certainly call that a tornado vortex signature. In fact, it's stronger than the others that we see. We see one rotation there, one there, and one there. And that northern of the three is in a very unusual position. Could represent that we've got some development along a flanking line there with possible tornadoes that would come down into the area probably just to the north of Centralia. We could also have a rain-wrapped tornado that is rain and hail-wrapped that would be heading over toward that area near Welch. So a very interesting storm structure to this one. Let me circle this again. It's actually, in fact, almost a donut hole.
Yeah,
we would call that a bounded weak echo region. Circle this one. This latter, the southern of the two, has some non-raining air into it, but we'll take a look and see if we have any correlation coefficient, any debris signatures showing up there. None showing up in the area that I said would be rain and hail surrounded. These two specks right here, I believe, are in clear in the weak echo region. So that it's certainly not ambiguous. We're not seeing signs that would guarantee us that we have a tornado on the ground at this point. And as far as I know, there have been no spotted tornadoes at this point with this particular storm. But I expect golf ball size hail or larger is occurring with that.
You know, I've seen this kind of thing before when you've got this really pronounced circulation in the core of the storm. So that's happening when you've got other storms wrapping into, essentially, when you've got a cell merger going on.
Yeah, indeed. And if I do a little bit of manipulation of this, I'll pull this over to the east so that I can back up in time and take a look here and see how this has all evolved.
Yeah,
it has been a little bit of a merger there, and that has taken place. Now we'll go back forward again.
So it was unencumbered at that point.
Yeah, and I think there was a new storm that formed down here near Lenapaw, and it's come in and surged northeastward, so that this was the original supercell and its a hook. This is a new storm that has come in, and let me see if I can get this advancing again. And now at the intersection point of the two storms, one storm here and then the original storm, we maybe now have some increasing chance of a rotation. This is sometimes when storms, yes, and look at that.
Yeah, there it is.
Very strong intensification of the rotation here in the northern one, the southern one, still ongoing in the northern one. I was about to say that sometimes when storms interact, it can be favorable for the development of tornadoes, sometimes unfavorable. In this case, with the merger coming in from the south and west, it's increased the wind flow from the west. We still have that inflow coming in from the south and east, and so that's increased the chance of rotation developing in here and heading down generally toward the Centralia area here in northeast parts of Oklahoma.
All right, so we continue to follow severe weather across parts of Oklahoma and southwestern Missouri. We'll take a broader look out here, and you see where all these warnings are concentrated in a relatively small area right along 44. That's where everything is just really coming together in a pretty small area tonight.
And still one tornado warning there over in Missouri side, and the tornado warning that we were just looking at in northeast Oklahoma.
And things are looking better in Joplin for the time being. We're going to talk more about this severe weather threat coming up on the other side of the break. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to our live coverage of severe weather here in the Plains. This is Joplin, Missouri, a live look right now where earlier we had a tornado warning in the city of Joplin. That storm has since moved on, but we have another one just off to our west that could be bringing us severe weather. We are under a severe thunderstorm warning at this time. You can see the rain has been coming down. Again, the most severe weather, at least at this time, has stayed to the north of Joplin. However, we're still watching that storm off to the west.
Yeah, absolutely. So very active, no doubt about it, across southwestern sections of Missouri, into southeastern sections of Kansas, and even now into Oklahoma, tracking some strong storms as well. We've got the team out there on the ground right now, and we've got Reynolds Wolf, who has been in Joplin all evening long. And Reynolds, I want to get it back to you. What is it like right now? I know the storm, for the most part, the first storm has moved to the east, but what's it like right now for you?
Well, Alex, you know, it's interesting, my man. It's kind of like we're setting up an assembly line. I mean, think about it. The conveyor belt has been just to the north. We've had the first product that's been rolling along, the one that produced the tornado warning. That has taken its way off well to our northeast this time. It continues to move away. And we see flashes of lightning every now and then. Now what we have are some scattered raindrops that are coming down. However, farther back out towards the west, we're starting to see something build again. Activity high above, a little bit of cloud-to-cloud activity, and at times, whoop, there's a big flash. It's starting to pick up again. So really, the focus is going from what happened earlier, which is pushing off to the east, and now our eyes are turning a bit more towards the west. And not only the west, but to the southwest. We're watching these cells develop, rather these storms develop, and again, certainly going to be very interesting to see what happens. A little bit of thunder that we're getting. Again, rain, pockets of at times, gets very intense, then very light. Right now, I could say this is probably some of the heaviest we've had so far. Not really intense in just the rain coming down, but the drops very, very big at this time, Alex.
Reynolds, we were with you earlier. The sirens were going off there in the city. Talk a little bit about how that felt and what it was like hearing those sirens going off for a period.
Well, the thing that makes it so terrifying is not the noise. It's not that. It's not the shock of hearing it from just the gentle wind to the stronger wind to the siren. It's the history. It's the history that makes a difference, because the people who are here, you know, the name Joplin is so synonymous with tornado, just like Moore, Oklahoma happens to be, like Gerald, Texas, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. These are places now that again, it's forever. The town, tornado are mixed together. So certainly when the sirens went off, people took it very seriously. Now, just for the viewers at home, we're in a very safe spot, a safe spot that happens to be a hotel. So a lot of the people that are here are not from the Joplin area. But these folks also took shelter immediately as soon as they heard the sirens go that went off. This place has a bit of a reputation. Sure, it's a town filled with wonderful people, no doubt about it. But again, there is that element, that thing that took place in the past, the massive tornado that caused so much damage and loss of life, Alex.
Now, Reynolds, a quick question for you as we talk about the first storm that rolled on by. Describe what you saw and dealt with as it did move on by. Was it heavy rain? Was it a lot of lightning? Or did you just sort of feel a little bit of wind?
You know what, Alex, I mean, in terms of rain, we really didn't get much at all. I mean, maybe a few drops, not nearly as intense as what we're getting right now. Our viewers are seeing across America, dropping from top to bottom across the screen. That was not a big deal. Hail, non-existent from our location. The wind was shifting. When we first got out here, before that storm came through, we had wind that was due south, due southwest, due southeast, all from that location. Then we had the clouds obscuring the skies very quickly, lightning all across the cloud. I mean, everywhere. I mean, cloud to cloud, cloud to ground. All the noise, all of the fury of the lightning and thunder was well to our north, right on the other side of 32nd Street, miles north up towards the airport, which is about, I'd say, 20 minutes as the crow flies, all to the north. So we basically got to stay here, watch the system, the storm move right on through. But of course, the wind picked up as it was leaving us, Alex. That's when we had more of the wind coming in from a trajectory, I'd say a bit more from the northwest. And at times it was fairly strong, then it faded, then it moved out. Now we're waiting for the next installment.
And Reynolds, as we look at the radar, it's certainly bearing down, coming in from the west. What are the plans now as this thing approaches?
It's going to be the same. It's going to be absolutely the same. You know, obviously we're listening to you, listening to Kim, we're listening to Dr. Forbes and Carl, and as we get more information from you, we're going to take cover. And I can tell you that there are people all across this region who are doing the exact same thing. People here in this hotel watching the Weather Channel. As it gets closer, if the sirens go off, we're going to take shelter immediately. Even without the sirens going off, people very wary of what's happening outside.
All right, Reynolds, well, stay safe. We'll be back with you and checking back with you throughout the night. Certainly an active time out there.
Yeah, let's check in on the radar. You know, we want to see if there are any more tornado warnings, and we still have, I believe, one in effect, as you can see here in Oklahoma, northeastern parts of Oklahoma right now. That is north of Interstate 44. But notice the line of storms extending all the way into Missouri, so it's one after another. So if you're in Cherokee, Jasper, Newton County here in Missouri, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning. That does include Joplin. So as mentioned, another storm getting ready to move through the city as we speak, and we're going to time this one out for you in Fidelity. It's 9:29 when you might get the worst of it, and then heading over here into Oklahoma, Craig and Nowata County under a tornado warning. You could see the hook shape on that. There's a tornado warning on this, so take cover now. This is until 9:45 Central Time. Tornado warning. That means get to your safe room as we speak. You guys should be going there right now. 10 o'clock in Welch, it looks like it will be there. Now we want to get expert analysis on this. We're going to go over to the lab now with storm specialist Carl Parker. Carl?
All right, thank you so much. And we first want to talk about what's going on here. It's been kind of an interesting setup today, a little bit different than it is on some tornado days, in that we've seen a lot of turning of the winds in the lowest levels of the atmosphere.
Indeed, it's interesting in many ways. We've been looking at this stationary front with a wave of low pressure that's developing on it now, running up along the Kansas-Oklahoma border. That has been giving winds that collided horizontally, and look at these winds. They're coming in from the north and east, and so it's been the circulation and the collision along that frontal zone that has helped push initially the convergence. It's the air has to go somewhere. It can't go into the ground, so you squeeze it together, it goes up. That helped form the thunderstorms in an area that was initially inhibited because it was warm air aloft. And then once the thunderstorms went up, you can see that with these shifting winds, there's already a tendency for this counterclockwise rotation to form, and as the storms go up, the inflow comes into those, pulls the arms together like a skater, and we begin to develop rotation. The other thing that's interesting is that we've had tornado warnings back in Colorado in some of this northeast flow that has turned around to the east. This is pretty cool, pretty dry air, and there's still thunderstorms marching across there. In fact, there's a severe thunderstorm watch that's been issued for parts of central Kansas, and so that is part of the interesting features of what's going on today. The upper forcing is coming in here, beginning to excuse me, catch up to this frontal zone. So this low overnight tonight is predicted to run up along the frontal zone, and tomorrow be coming up the Ohio Valley, and that will be giving severe thunderstorms to maybe just barely north of the Ohio River, but coming across again the states of Kentucky, probably all across Tennessee, and then northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, down into Louisiana tomorrow, maybe beginning to weaken as it comes into northwest Georgia.
Now, what we're watching, we want to go to some video first of all. Okay, we're not going to do that, but we do want to take a look at the radar picture right now. And we've been watching these, what are called discrete cells, these individual cells with more of a tornado and a large hail threat. And we're going to watch all of this begin to grow upscale over the next several hours, right?
Indeed, we are probably seeing some diminishing of the tornado threat, but this big whole cluster of thunderstorms merging together will roll across extreme northern Arkansas and southern Missouri. This storm originally had tornado warnings. It produced tornadoes. Now it's severe thunderstorm warnings in southwest Missouri, Cherokee, Jasper, and Newton counties. Still could develop a tornado there coming toward the Sarcoxie area. The storms have pushed south and east of Joplin and kind of weakened at this point.
This was the cell that we were watching, wondering if it was, and indeed it's coming just a little south of Joplin with some hail and some wind.
Hail. That one is, yeah, the next one coming out of Kansas toward Joplin, and then still a tornado warning up in northeast parts of Missouri that is the strongest of the storms at this time. So that one is a Craig County now with a tornado warning on it.
Yeah, a couple of different circulations there. One, in fact, buried deep within that area of heavy rain and hail. So the storms rolling on here across southwestern Missouri and northeastern Arkansas. We will continue to follow the radars and take you there live as well. All of that coming up on the other side of the break as Weather Center Live continues. Stay with us.
Welcome back, everyone. We're looking now at pictures of where we had some hail in Parsons, Kansas, and you could hear it. Listen to this. Here tonight, and we've had some reports of up to baseball-size hail, not in Parsons, but earlier in parts of Missouri. So again, large hail has been the case in several states, plus damaging winds and even 7 reports of tornadoes. Welcome back, everyone, again for the special live coverage of the severe threat this evening. I'm Kim Cunningham.
And I'm Alex Wallace. No doubt about it, an active time for us in the middle of the country. You mentioned those hail reports out there, and we also had some tornadic activity, funnel reports, funnel clouds being reported as well, including here where we actually see it. This is in Altamont, Kansas. This is the far southeastern portion of the state, and you can clearly see it that they're descending there. That is the funnel cloud that is showing up out there, and tough to see if it's making any contact with the ground. Don't see anything swirling up there at the ground. So at this point, we would consider it a funnel cloud. But no doubt about it here, that is the precursor to what can be a tornado. So when that happens, it is no doubt time to seek that shelter. So again, pictures coming in from southeastern Kansas. That is in Altamont. Funnel cloud showing up there.
All right, we want expert analysis on this. Dr. Forbes and Carl Parker's been with us all evening tracking these storms, and Carl Parker's joining us down from the lab. Carl?
Hey, Kim. So we're continuing to watch mostly severe thunderstorm warnings right now, right along the 44 corridor in southwestern Missouri, also down into northeastern parts of Oklahoma. So we'll run through some of these warnings and tell you how all this is going to play out through tonight. Now, you'll notice that a lot of these are more individual cells, and along with those individual cells, you've got a tornado threat, you've got a large hail threat. We're going to watch them begin to join together over the next few hours, and as that happens, it's going to evolve into more of a heavy rain and damaging wind threat. It's going to become a big area of thunderstorms that's sort of all working together. Now, here into the Springfield metro, we were watching this cell that had been rotating for quite some time and now showing some signs of rotation, but definitely on the downswing here, and so that's good news as regards Springfield. We certainly could see some gusty wind and heavy rain, but at least right now we're not seeing that more pronounced circulation that was going on for the longest time with that particular cell. No warning on that cell right now. Now, here's the second storm that has come into Joplin. We had a close call earlier tonight with a pretty well-developed circulation to the north of town. And in fact, there was a funnel cloud reported in Webb City. Right now, a severe thunderstorm warning for Cherokee and Jasper and Newton counties. And what we're concerned about here is going to be large hail, ping pong ball size hail, and 60-mile-per-hour wind as that moves to the east at 30 miles per hour. Then off to the south of that, Miami, Oklahoma, Craig, Ottawa counties, a severe thunderstorm warning there. That's going until 10 p.m. Again, the concern, very large hail and damaging wind. There you see live pictures from Joplin as the core of the storm comes in. A lot of gusty wind there as well, and certainly plenty of heavy rain. But again, some scary moments earlier tonight as we were watching a very well-developed supercell thunderstorm with a pronounced circulation off to the west and west-northwest of Joplin. And of course, we're very sensitive about what may happen there in Joplin after having gone through so much just 4 years ago. 2011, May 22nd, 2011, terrible tornado just ravaged the town of Joplin. And every time those tornado sirens go off since then, of course, it carries that much more weight because of what has happened there. Also, severe thunderstorm warning now for another cell that had been rotating pretty rapidly in northern Oklahoma. This is Craig, Delaware, Ottawa counties under warning. We mentioned that, but then we've got another warning, a larger area of warning. I'm going to scoot this just a little farther to the west here, and the other warning in effect for Nowata County, and that is now moving to the east, also about 30 miles per hour, and again a hail and wind threat there. And then we'll drop on down into the southeast part of the state, and the east part of the state, and right here yet another warning. And there is actually now pretty strong circulation showing up in this particular cell. No tornado warning right now. We'll keep our eyes on that as that continues to move off towards the east. So generally what we've got here is a serious threat for hail and wind going on. There's a look at that cell that's in eastern Oklahoma right now. Looking inside that, seeing a lot of circulation within that. We'll keep our eyes on that one. Much more coverage coming up.
Welcome back as we continue to follow strong and severe storms rumbling on through parts of Missouri. We look live now at Joplin, and boy, oh boy, rain coming down heavily. We've seen some lightning strikes as well. We've been following storms there in and around the area. We had one storm roll just to the north of Joplin earlier, but this one, you're right now smack dab in the middle of it. Heavy driving rain there, and those windshield wipers, they are working overtime at this point. So again, big storms rumbling on through southwestern Missouri, as well as northeastern portions of Oklahoma now too.
And we still have a severe thunderstorm watch and a tornado watch in effect for some of you tonight, so we still have some time to watch these. However, we haven't seen too many tornado warnings as of late, thank goodness, but the tornado watch is in effect until 2 o'clock in the morning. That does include Springfield, does include Joplin, and looks like the northern and eastern burbs of Tulsa. Severe thunderstorm watch until 5 o'clock in the morning, Wichita, Emporia. Looking at the potential of large hail and damaging winds. You can see some of the storms that are firing up now. A new severe thunderstorm warning just southwest of Kansas City, but we are really going to focus on this area in southwestern Missouri and southeastern parts of Kansas and northeastern parts of Oklahoma. We have had a lot of storms roll through, and now probably turning into a big heavy rain event as well. So Jasper, Lawrence, Newton, severe thunderstorm warning. The threat here is hail and damaging winds. Joplin still under that threat, heavy rain probably coming down right now. No tornado warning here. Earlier we did, but it looks like now it's just severe threat. Craig, Delaware, Ottawa County, severe thunderstorm warning until 10:45, and also over here into Oklahoma, we continue to be under a severe thunderstorm warning for Allouez, Delaware, and Nowata County under a severe thunderstorm warning as well. So expect the possibility of hail, damaging winds. Just the way this one is kind of bowing out a little bit, that backward C, we could be looking at some very strong winds coming through with this. But as mentioned, now becoming more of a severe threat as far as hail and damaging winds and heavy rain, maybe slightly losing that tornado threat a little bit, but we cannot rule out the possibility. We are still under that watch until at least 1 o'clock in the morning. So you guys be prepared for that as we continue to watch the threat for severe storms in this area.
And absolutely, and even though again we're starting to see the tornado warning subsiding a bit, it doesn't mean we want to let our guard down. Again, straight line and damaging winds associated with these storms can be just as damaging out there. So we don't want to let your guard down just because we don't have any tornado warnings out there at this point. We head a little bit farther north. Again, this is south and west of Kansas City, Douglas and Franklin counties here until 10:30. That is a severe thunderstorm warning that is on that particular storm right on Interstate 35 right now and moving on off towards the north and the east. So still some active storms to track here right now with heavy rain, heavy downpours, the hail threat, damaging wind also out there at this moment. All right, I'm going to send it now to the lab. We've got storm specialist Carl Parker along with severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes putting in the long hours here tonight, but it certainly is warranted.
Yeah, we're seeing some really interesting developments right now. We've been watching these big clusters of individual storms in Missouri. They're now beginning to join together, so it's going to be more of a heavy rain and a wind threat. And then off to the south and to the west, that's where we may yet see some tornado development.
Yeah, indeed. Some of these storms have managed to sag into and pop up through what had been capped, an inhibited situation earlier. They're in still some pretty warm air, and they have not had any real contamination from storms that were down to their south. So some pretty big storms down there in the northeast corner of Oklahoma.
All right, so we'll take you down, first of all, into eastern Oklahoma, Benton, Delaware County, under severe warning. Look at the inflow notch there, Dr.
Yeah, this one has at times had some very strong rotation right around the J area there. That will come out of Oklahoma into the extreme northwest corner of Arkansas or extreme southwest part of Missouri. Benton and Delaware counties under severe thunderstorm warnings for this one. Large hail and damaging winds. There's nothing to the south of this one to interfere. That storm may interfere with a storm that's up the line there. But it is really pretty strong at this point around the Veneta area. You can even see a little tiny green line here. We've been talking about rear flank downdrafts and gust fronts. That's what that shows up there. And then right in here, very strong inflow notch, the strong rotation showing up right in here. So while this only has a severe thunderstorm warning at the moment, it's not out of the question that this could produce a tornado, and that could head down toward the Grove area.
Interesting little surge there, a little notch that developed.
Yeah, it really is surging there. That rear flank downdraft is really kicking its way off to the east. And yet, back near Nowata, Oklahoma, still one more storm back to the west-northwest. Severe thunderstorm warning on that. You can see all these are supercells. They have these appendages coming out the southwest side. So these are capable of large hail and damaging winds, and still additional thunderstorms off to the south and east of Joplin, down around the Miami, Oklahoma area, and up into the Sarcoxie and Mount Vernon areas of Missouri.
All right, hail, wind, and very heavy rain threat continues. We'll have much more on this coming right up. Stay with us.
Welcome back, everyone. We're looking live right now at Joplin, Missouri. This is live where the rain is coming down. Wow. So we're expecting some very heavy rain. Be careful on the roadways here tonight. Severe threats still with us as well. We're going to have more from Joplin coming up.
Meanwhile, north and east into St. Louis, where we've been dealing with storms rolling on through, continuing to deal with some of that activity. There's a live look at how things are faring. There's the arch. You can see some little lightning strikes showing up there, at least the flashes there for you, cloud to cloud, the lightning going on. So it's a stormy time in and around St. Louis. We've got some storms off to your south and west that are actually severe warned, including Franklin counties there. As Franklin County, I should say, that includes the town of St. Clair, Union and Gray Summit until 10:45. So big storms rumbling on downpours, damaging wind potential, as well as hail.
And thanks for joining us, everyone. This is special live coverage right now of the severe weather that's been threatening this part of the country. We've had at least 7 reports of tornadoes already this evening and numerous reports of hail and damaging winds.
Hey, even have some hail up to baseball size. So, I mean, these storms have certainly meant business out there. Certainly, we've been watching it sort of concentrated in a small area of southwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas, and now northeastern sections of Oklahoma. I want to show you now some of the video that's been coming in as well. This now from Altamont, Kansas, and this is in the far southeastern part of the state. You see there a funnel cloud spotted, and you can see that descending sort of appendage there coming in out from the clouds. That is the funnel cloud right there. Don't see anything sort of rotating and spinning there at the ground, so that would indicate that it is just a funnel cloud, but certainly when you see that, it is a sign of trouble.
And of course, you know, we're concerned about Joplin here tonight. We showed you earlier some live pictures of Joplin. We're going to show you that again to show you that the heavy rain has now made it here. Reynolds Wolf is here, has been there all day today. He's been covering this storm. And Reynolds, I know we've got the heavy rain, but anything else coming at you?
You know, we actually had some hail, some small pea-sized hail that came down. The rain, though, was very intense. For viewers across the country who are tuning in, we were actually prepared to go to do a live shot from our location. The rain came through with such intensity, guys, that our satellite truck was unable to hit the satellite in space, which sends the signal back down to well, again, making this as base as could be to our viewers across America. So with that's because the rain was falling so intensely at times. We're getting quite a bit more lightning at this time. Now, take it back. Not lightning, but more thunder. We're hearing quite a bit of it. We had one strike that appeared to be 2 blocks away. Literally, the sound alone almost knocked us off our feet. We've had the heavy rain, as I mentioned, the hail. The wind also, at times, incredibly strong. Right now, it has dropped a little bit in terms of the intensity. Still coming in steadily, but certainly the drop's not as heavy in the hail gone at this point.
All right, looks like maybe still a few more lines of storms possibly coming through there tonight. Reynolds, it may be at least a couple more hours that you guys are out of the threat here this evening. What's your plan for tonight?
Plan for tonight is to stay vigilant and watch this. You know, at the Weather Channel, we've got people that depend on us. I mean, the idea is to keep people safe. It's that simple. That's the objective. That's the game plan. That's our charge. That is what we do. So we're going to watch this line as it comes through. And, you know, obviously it's not just us. We got teams scattered all around the area that are going to keep a sharp eye on this. You guys are certainly doing incredible work in the studio. And, you know, tomorrow morning we're going to have crews that are going to continue to watch this a bit farther to the east as this system, this mess continues to travel its way through the eastern part of the state, eventually to Tennessee and onward into the Ohio Valley possibly as well. But for us, Cam, to answer your question, we're going to be here at least the midnight hour, perhaps a bit longer, watching the situation unfold. Okay, thank you so much. Reynolds Lewis, one of the nicest guys in the world for sure. We appreciate your coverage here this evening.
Absolutely. All right, we want to get back to the lab now. We got storm specialist Carl Parker, I believe Dr. Greg Forbes, severe weather expert, still here as well. And guys, we've been watching these storms sort of getting going here this evening. Very discreet in nature with the cells earlier. Now starting to sort of come together a bit more.
Yeah, we are seeing the threat evolving. That's right. It's going to turn more into a heavy rain and wind threat, but we are still getting some tornado warnings. We've been watching this beast of a supercell that is still rotating and rapidly.
Yeah, and it is over in the northeast part of Oklahoma. While we have this big, broad picture, still a few severe thunderstorms across Missouri, along, and probably most of these now ahead of the frontal zone, and some that are well back into the cold air, including some that are moving east at about 80 miles per hour. Associated with the upper air forcing back in pretty cold air north of Dodge City. But we'll try to zoom into the storms here that have the most recent tornado warning. That's one we were showing you a little bit ago.
Right, look at
the
that.
one that was back near the Veneta area. It has developed a well-defined hook echo. That's the one that we were talking about. You could see had a well-defined gust front that had come out the southwest side. And back where that rear flank downdraft is meeting up with the inflow. I'll try to draw them in different colors. The inflow coming into the notch there, the rear flank downdraft coming in here. There is where the tornado is located. So that will be heading probably just slightly south of east toward the Grove area. And Sarah will zoom in on that for us and project the path of this. Going to be very, very close to the Afton area, the Grove area, Copeland, then heading off toward probably near or maybe just north of Dodge and the Knoll. And you see there in the white box the timeline for this particular storm.
And it looks like a massive hail also possible with that particular cell too.
Yeah, and the hail core on this one will be slightly, there it is, it will be just a few miles north of where the tornado track would be.
Wow.
Sort of in the body of the storm, the tornadoes tend to be a little bit more off on the southwest flank. So hail, tornado, these for supercell rotating thunderstorms, they come hand in hand, and this could be baseball size in all possibilities.
And this may be the last group of these supercell storms as more of these storms are beginning to, as we say, grow upscale or join together.
Yeah, these are probably going to try to angle themselves south of where the storms have already been in Missouri, angle themselves down into the Missouri-Arkansas border, and may be able to persist there for a little while at least. There's one storm, though, that is going to contaminate some of the air in front of the particular tornadic storm. So the storms are doing a little bit of interference. At times, they maybe have helped each other form a brief tornado. At other times, they may be interfering a little bit.
And when they put out that cool air, that rush of cool air, they can actually ride along that boundary and tap into the change in wind direction along that boundary, right?
Yeah, it certainly can. That's what the one back near Chelsea is doing. You can see the outflow boundary from the storm that has a tornado warning has come back, and then this storm is running just slightly north of that. So this storm is ever so slightly what we will call elevated. When it is like that, it has a little bit less of a chance of a tornado coming down to the ground than when the storm is right up against the real warm air. So that's the storm that is right now between Veneta and Grove. Beyond Grove, it's going to get into air that maybe has been cooled by that lead storm.
And here we're bringing St. Louis into it. A couple of warnings here. Franklin County under warning. That's right along 44. And then another warning off to the west of that. Pretty good-looking cell there, now well west of Sullivan. So severe weather continues. We've got mostly a hail and wind threat right now. We'll have much more on all this severe weather coming up. Stay tuned.
Welcome back as we continue to follow the storms rolling through the middle of the country. Here we are looking at some video. This is from earlier from Altamont, Kansas. That's in the southeastern part of the state. What you're looking at there, a funnel cloud, which was spotted. You can see that's a sort of appendage sort of dropping down from the clouds there and extending. That is the funnel cloud. And we've seen and heard numerous reports across portions of Kansas and into Missouri, not just of funnel clouds, but even of tornadoes. So it has no doubt been a very active evening, and we continue to deal with these active storms right now. In fact, we've got a pretty nasty storm right now that is still ongoing right now, that a tornado warned storm, which is, I believe, in Oklahoma, and it is looking pretty nasty right now. I believe we have Carl, who is in the lab tracking this storm. Carl?
Sometimes you can very clearly see rotation within the storm, but then sometimes you can see a much tighter rotation that is the tornado itself, and that's what we're watching now.
And that's definitely the case here. We're talking the northeast corner of Oklahoma with a tornado warning there right around the Afton, Oklahoma area. Let's zoom in on this one. We've had reports of power flashes as this tornado in all likelihood is in progress and has crossed I-44 right in that little circular part of the storm, which is down in the southwest edge of the hook echo. This is the one that we've been watching. It's going southeast or east-southeast toward the Grove area. Tornado warning for Craig, Delaware, and Ottawa counties. Zooming in here and tracking it, the timeline there for coming to the Grove area about 10:35 Central Time. If it holds together, Knoll there about 11:08.
And we're seeing a lot of precip there in that area, and in fact, a spotter saying that he couldn't see the tornado due to the rain, so this is likely a rain-wrapped tornado.
Rain-wrapped, and it's after dark, so it's going to be dependent upon the lightning to see that. Here is the situation at the moment. This also looks like one where it is probably going to rapidly choke itself off. I'll back this up in a moment, but at the moment, here's the hook echo. In here in red is the inflow coming in, so that's getting to be a pretty narrow notch. Let's take a look at the velocities on this one at this point. And you see that it's still pretty well-defined rotation there. The red's going northeast, green's going southwest. So that's what we call the tornado vortex signature. See if we have any debris signature on that. Not showing up at the moment, but that is now just to the east of I-44. I wanted to go back, though, 5 minutes in time, and you'll see that that hook has closed off quite a bit. This is when it was going across I-44, almost a little donut hole there down at the south end of the hook. And at this time, it had some pretty strong rotation showing up in there.
Oh, there's a TV.
Very well-defined tornado vortex signature there in the greens and blues. Let's see if at this time we were seeing any debris signature. Not showing up, but so hopefully it's not causing major amounts of damage. This is at about 3,500 feet, so sometimes the debris doesn't get tossed up that high, but dangerous storm. You can see just in that 5-minute time step how this has become more bow shape rather than counterclockwise shape, but a dangerous possible tornado is in progress there with definitely a supercell and some big hail.
Let's take flashes being reported with this as well.
More power flashes with this. This is a big storm. Let's go to the slice, Sarah, and the next frame here, and we'll see that big storm with hail up here at 30,000 feet. That lavender with this weak echo region there. That's the updraft and inflow to the storm.
All right, we'll have much more on this dangerous situation. Ongoing tornado warning near Afton, Oklahoma. More on that coming up.
Welcome back, everyone. We're looking live now at St. Louis, where storms are around here tonight. And we got storms off to your west that have been severe, and severe thunderstorm warnings to your southwest right now. Right now, though, we've got some rain coming down through the city. You can see the roads are wet and some lightning in the area as well. So please be careful tonight. Keep an eye on the thunderstorms. Again, mainly the severe threat has been south of you, but that could change. So we'll keep an eye on this for sure. Let's go ahead and show you now some of the active radar signatures we've been looking at that have been producing even possibly a tornado in some areas. Right now, we have in northeastern Oklahoma, tornado warning in effect. You can see a line of storms from St. Louis all the way into northeastern Oklahoma. And this tornado warning that continues to be in effect around the Afton area. Right now, Delaware and Ottawa County under that tornado warning until 10:45. Reports of 2 semis being blown over on 44. So we have power flashes being reported as well, a possible tornado with this. We're going to time this out. If you're in Joplin at 10:28 and Grove at 10:37, and also here in Noel at 11:10 and Pineville at 11:18. That storm will be near you. At least right now, the signature not as strong as it was earlier, but you can see these these storms lining up very close to Interstate 44 here tonight. St. Charles, St. Louis, watch out for these storms right now. Franklin County under that warning until 10:45 for the potential of damaging winds and hail. Again, this is until 10:45. Now we'll take you into western Kansas, where we are seeing an incredible storm here. Edwards, Hodgman, Pawnee County, the warning until 10:45. We could see some very strong damaging winds with this. We've had a lot of hail reports as well, up to 70-mile-per-hour winds reported. So as you can see in Scott City, I'm sure we've got some cleanup to do tomorrow, and 70-mile-per-hour winds. We could see that continue, and again, the hail threat is there as well.
Yeah, very active there across the Plain States. Another spot that has been dealing with these storms, that would be Joplin, Missouri. They've been tracking some storms as well. Let's get you out there live right now here. No doubt about it, the rain's still coming down, wet streets. We saw some very heavy downpours earlier as well. We've got our team on the ground, and that includes Reynolds Wolf. He's been there all evening. And Reynolds, you said you had a little bit of hail, maybe around pea size a little bit earlier today, but it looks like things are a little calmer for you at this moment.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that, Alex? It's almost like it is the break before the other addition comes in. What's interesting is earlier we had that rotating thunderstorm that drifted just to our north and passed. We saw the lightning, we saw it drift off, and the lightning was almost like taillights of a car speeding down the interstate. So that's part of history that's moving away from us in Joplin. However, it's not something you can relatively see, but rather hear farther back out towards the west. We hear the rumble of thunder. We hear another one coming. And it was funny, just taking a look at radar, how interesting it is. It really is an assembly line, having one storm after another march along some of the same territory. I've got to tell you, though, that one storm that's a little bit more to our southwest really does have me concerned. There was that tornado warning associated with that one. That's one we got to watch very carefully. Right now, we are not just watching. We are feeling the rain coming down at times. It has been fairly intense. No hail since that last episode we had a while ago, and even then, dudes, it was really some small stuff. We're talking pea-size hail. All right, we're going to keep a sharp eye on this unfolding situation. Right now, the story is all rain, but as you know, Alex, with these systems, might be a bit more before long. Back to you. Kim, listen, back to you.
All right, Reynolds, and you know, we've got a different type of weather going on in Denver right now. Pretty amazing right now. We've had moderate snow in the Denver area. So snow is coming down right now. You can see it here from the camera lens. And we're looking live right now in Denver with snow coming down right now. If you're traveling around the area, heading up on 25 towards Fort Collins, you will be in that snow for a while. Wow,
amazing there to see what's going on. Denver, earlier this week, we were talking about mild conditions, and now it is snowing.
The land of extremes. Again, that's behind the storm system that is producing all that severe weather tonight. We'll have more on this coming up. As you can see, severe storms in Kansas, snow in Colorado.
Welcome back as we follow more strong storms rumbling through the middle of the country. Here we are looking live in Joplin, Missouri. We've got a crew out there looking at what is happening with the heavy rain that has been coming down here as of the last hour or so. We've been seeing storms roll on through the area. In fact, earlier today, just north of the city, a funnel cloud was reported in Webb City, along with that heavy rain that is driving through right now. So an active time for us there in the Joplin area. It was a scary time. Sirens were going off as the storm rolled on through. It was had a tornado warning on it. Good news is that generally slid its way off to the north of the city. Of course, if you recall, a few years ago, 2011, destructive tornado almost leveled the entire town. So no doubt about it, that was on the folks' mind there. We spoke to a person earlier in Joplin, and she made it into her basement. She knew what to do, and that was great to hear. But right now, what we're dealing with, heavy downpours and a bit of lightning now as storms continue to roll on through.
And these storms extend all the way up into St. Louis, where temperature right now is 64 degrees and the dew point is just as high. So we've got storms coming in, and we've got some lightning out there as well. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for St. Louis County and Jefferson County right now until 11:15 Central Time. So be prepared for some hail and damaging winds if you live in these counties. Again, storms rolling through St. Louis as we speak. And welcome back, everyone. I'm Kim Cunningham along with Alex Wallace. Tonight we are in extended coverage of the severe weather threat that is happening here tonight in the Midwest.
That's right. We continue to deal with a tornado watch that is in place across the middle of the country. So within that area, that's a spot where we're looking for storms that could potentially bring us tornadoes. And that's in southern portions of Missouri, including Springfield, far northern stretches of Arkansas, there in the southeastern sections of Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma. And there in that yellow area, that's a severe thunderstorm watch. Wichita, you are included. That's until 5 o'clock local time. Within that area, storms capable of producing damaging winds as well as hail. And you can't rule out a few isolated tornadoes there either. And you can see how the radar is lit up there across portions of central Kansas and down towards the south and the east as well. Into northeastern Oklahoma, that seems to be the corridor where we have some of the strongest storms at this time. Let's talk about some of the video and show you some of the video that came into us and has come into us. This is from Altamont, Kansas now, in the far southeastern part of the state. And you notice that little area that is sort of hanging down from the clouds? That's a funnel cloud, and that is one of the things that you look for with the potential for tornadoes. If that thing can extend all the way to the ground, you have a tornado. Now, looking at it right there, you don't see anything really kicking up there at the ground area, so that's an indication that nothing is actually reaching the ground. But no doubt about it, a funnel cloud being spotted there in Altamont, Kansas. They're in the southeastern part of the state.
And we've had a lot of hail reports as well. We're going to show you right now here in Parsons, Kansas. Look at this storm. Look how you can almost see the green, right? So we had some hail being reported in the area, and I think we can even hear it. Went on for quite a while. Storm chasers were in the area and reported hail with this. You could see it bouncing off the hood of this car. And I'm sure a lot of people will be out there assessing the damage from some of these storms here tonight.
Absolutely. All right, we'll want to find out what else is happening out there as we check in on the radar. We got our very own storm specialist, Carl Parker, who is in the lab tracking all of this activity. And Carl, I tell you, it's continuing to stay active.
Yeah, it certainly is. A lot of warnings right now, all the way from western Kansas right down into southeast Oklahoma, where there is still a tornado warning, and then up into the St. Louis metro off to the south of St. Louis. And here is the broader picture, so a lot of different areas of storms. Here's a big cluster of storms that's coming through Kansas, and over top of very cold air, elevated storms as we call them, and they have been hustling and producing a lot of wind and hail. Then you've got this group of storms, a lot of tornado warnings earlier, and there is still one now, and again, that area of storms that is now south and west of St. Louis. We'll take you first of all into western Kansas. 70-mile-per-hour wind reported with that little segment, that little line segment, and right now there are severe warnings here just south of I-70. Hodgman, Pawnee, Rush counties under warning. The concern is 70-mile-per-hour wind. Barton County also under warning, and then you've got a warning in Hayes itself, and that is Ellis and Rush counties, that going until 10:45. Then we'll take you down here into what has been the most active area this evening, and these storms are beginning to settle down a little bit here in southwestern parts of Missouri. Still some severe thunderstorm warnings and a tornado warning as well. There's a look at the reports in 2 tractor trailers blown over on I-44 by thunderstorm wind or possible tornado there, and there's a look at the tornado warning that is ongoing for Delaware, Ottawa counties, that going until 10:45. Now, I will tell you, as we look at the high-resolution radar, that things are looking a little bit better right now. And in fact, I want to show you what it looked like right before those tractor trailers were blown down. So this road right there, that's I-44. And what you're looking at here is a larger circulation. So in the red, you've got wind that's going away from the radar and wind that's going towards the radar. So just like that, there's away and there's toward, just like that. But then within that, if you look right in there, there's that tight little area. That is the tornado. That's called a tornado vortex signature, that area where you've got wind rapidly moving away from the radar and toward the radar. And in the very next scan, we see that it really blossoms there, and that is when we saw that report come out. There it is right there, of those 2 semis being blown over along I-44 by either the tornado or the very strong wind that was coming around the underside of that storm, around the side of that tornado. tornado. But as we move forward in time and take a look at what's happened since then, we are not seeing nearly the same signature. We're seeing a broad circulation right now, but it's not nearly as well defined as it once was. I'll zoom out a little bit, and you've got this very large area of circulation, and it's very broad, but we're not seeing that really tight circulation that we were looking at before, so it does not appear that there is as much of a tornado threat right now in this area. Ongoing tornado warning, though. All right, so here's a look at a couple other warnings. Craig County under severe thunderstorm warning. Veneta looking at large hail right now, along with damaging wind. Another warning now right along the Arkansas, just south of the state line there between Arkansas and Missouri, and near Bentonville. And that warning along 71 as well. And then to the north of that, big storms coming through Springfield. They had been warned for wind and hail, but no warning right now. And again, you've got this cluster of storms that's coming into the south side of the St. Louis metro area. So a severe thunderstorm warning right now for Jefferson and St. Louis County, and this is going until 11:15. These cells generally moving off towards the east at about 30 miles per hour, 60 mile per hour wind, and 1-inch hail is the threat there. Same story off to the west. Another warning there for Franklin County. This is along 44, and then another warning off to the west of that. So for tonight, our Torcon index up to about a 4 now in southeast Kansas, but I will tell you that the threat is slowly beginning to come down just a little bit, and we're going to see more of a damaging wind and very heavy rain threat overnight tonight. And then tomorrow we expect to see even more storms. Now here's the model forecast showing you these supercells as they drive across parts of southern Missouri, and then this big complex of storms that's now in Kansas could really wallop you early tomorrow morning there in Joplin and Springfield. Could be some damaging wind coming in early in the morning as that complex of storms very rapidly moves across. And then again tomorrow, it's going to be more of the same, more severe weather across a good part of the mid-south, southeast. Torcon index of 3 in Kentucky and Tennessee, and a damaging wind and hail threat as well for a lot of the mid-south and deep south. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Carl. Plenty to track out there on on the radar tonight. Very active.
And we continue to get pictures in from our viewers, and also we got a picture of a semi-trail, actually 2 of them that were overturned here on Interstate 44. This is near Afton here in Oklahoma, northeastern part of Oklahoma, as a tornadic thunderstorm moved through the area.
So you can see what can happen when those storms roll on through. Big time winds did that. Meanwhile, we get you to St. Louis. We got some heavy downpours as storms are rolling in now. Well, welcome back. Looking in live now in Joplin, Missouri, an area that has certainly seen its fair share of the storms here this evening. Looks like a much calmer time for us. Earlier, we were talking very heavy downpours, even a bit of hail rolling through just north of town. We had a report of a funnel cloud. But in the city itself, heavy rain with storms that are rolling on through. Looks like we're now starting to get into the sort of the lull of things, and we're getting a break from the heavy storm action.
And the storms extend all the way into St. Louis here tonight. And right now we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Jefferson and St. Louis counties. That's mainly the southern parts of St. Louis. So you guys take cover, stay indoors. Frequent lightning with this, maybe damaging winds and some hail if you're in Arnold, High Ridge, or Imperial. This includes you. So again, watching these storms moving off to the east, bringing heavy rain with it as well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, lots to track out there this evening. We've been following it all evening long. In fact, let's get you out there to show you and give you sort of the overview and the big picture of what's going on. We got a severe thunderstorm watch. That's out until 5 o'clock local time there. That's in Kansas, including Wichita. So heads up there. Storms that'll be capable of producing some damaging winds. Could be in excess of 60 miles an hour. Large hail, a potential threat there. Then right in the middle in the red, tornado watch. That's out until 2 o'clock, and that seems to have been the zone that has been the most active here this evening. Springfield, you're still involved in that, all the way down towards Bentonville. And then now just newly issued a severe thunderstorm watch here, southeastern portions of Missouri and into southern portions of Illinois. Some of the southern suburbs of St. Louis included in that, and that's out until 6 o'clock local time. There is the radar. We've got storms from central Kansas all the way into Missouri. Numerous storms with warnings on them as well. Let's get into the most pressing one at this point, and that is the tornado warned storm, which is in northeastern portions of Oklahoma. We've been watching this particular storm. This one just to the west of the Afton area. We had some issues there right along Interstate 44. 2 semi-trucks being overturned, I should say, with a potential and possible tornado there. So again, you want to make sure you're seeking shelter now if you're in Cayuga, Coy, Knoll, Bella Vista, as well as Pea Ridge. Those are some of the areas that may be impacted with this particular storm in the coming minutes. Seeking shelter, basement if you have it. If not, innermost portion of your home away from the windows. You notice that you can see all of the different storm reports here. In all, 27 reports, severe reports, including funnel clouds, hail, and wind damage, as well as tornadoes. 6 reported tornadoes here. We'll get the fine-tuning on exactly how many tornadoes we had as the National Weather Service offices go out and survey any damage out there. But there's the view of those storms continuing. They're trying to sort of get together and congeal a bit now along that Interstate 44 corridor. There we are in St. Louis, where we've been tracking some storms. It's to your south and west where we have the storms with severe warnings on them. Franklin County until 11:15, and in Jefferson and St. Louis counties until 11:15 as well. Main threats here would be damaging winds as well as hail.
And another city that saw active weather tonight was Joplin, Missouri. And of course, you know, our hearts go out to the people anytime there's any kind of active warnings in Joplin. Reynolds Wolf has been there, and he weathered the storms here this evening. And Reynolds, I'm happy to report what's going through right now, I think, is about the end of it for a while tonight.
Yeah, it sure seems that way. I got to tell you, as geeky and nerdy as it sounds, the air actually feels a bit different. It really does. And we've seen a little bit of everything this evening. If this episode that we dealt with tonight was a book with chapters, our first chapters earlier this evening, this late afternoon, partly cloudy skies, wind mainly from the south. Then we had in other chapters more of the clouds building in, overcast conditions, lightning like you wouldn't believe, thunder. We had that. Again, the rotating storms that came drifting through, the possible tornado. But we've had a little bit of everything. We even had hail and rain that was coming down as though you were hitting a slot machine and you hit again, just the slot, and coins are coming out. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So we have had quite a potpourri of weather events today. You can't let the guard down, though, because we're going to see more of this obviously develop later on tonight, a bit farther back towards the east. Tennessee is going to be affected, no doubt. Cape Girardeau, St. Louis certainly been affected. And we still have those storms that pack a bit of a punch to our southwest we're watching. Again, probably not as strong as what we dealt with earlier, but still, you always got to be vigilant. Guys, it has been an amazing evening here in many ways, not just with the weather that we experienced, but some of the people that we met. Travelers that are here from all over the country that happen to be here on this night, but then a lot of locals that have to deal with this rough weather, and truly it is a part of life for them. Kim, let's send it back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Reynolds. We appreciate that. Again, good reporting this evening, and looks like at least right now Joplin is in the clear as we speak. But one place that is not dealing with spring-like severe weather is Denver. We're getting spring-like wintry weather here.
Can you imagine? I mean, it's crazy. Earlier in the week, we were basking in the warmth, 70s, enjoying it. Now we've got snow. Last I checked at the airport, visibility was down to a half a mile. Wow.
So you guys, crazy weather in Denver, but we expect that this time of the year. About 8 minutes till the hour. Let's check in on St. Louis, where we've got thunderstorms moving through the area right now. You can see the lightning, wow, off in the distance here, and we've got severe weather and severe thunderstorm warnings earlier here off to your south. I'm going to check and see real quick if we still got warnings, and we do. Still severe thunderstorm warning here, it looks like, for Franklin County and also for Jefferson and St. Louis County. Looks like it is now crossing over into Illinois as we speak, but especially south of town, watch out for severe storms.
All right, we'll want to get it back to the lab now to track some of these storms. We've got storm specialist Carl Parker, who has been tracking all this activity all night. And Carl, looks like we've seen the tornado threat subside just a bit, but we're still not out of the woods.
No, that's right. We've still got some severe thunderstorm warnings. We can't completely rule out another tornado, though it certainly does appear to be that we're on the backside of that tornado threat. Every severe weather event, it's got a curve, and I think we've hit the peak for the tornado threat, and we're now on the downslope. But certainly there's an ongoing severe storm threat. There's going to be some more hail and wind and very heavy rain in a lot of areas across the plains and also there into the middle Mississippi Valley. And let's begin with a look at some of what happened earlier tonight and show show you the tornado, or at least the funnel cloud that we saw in Altamont in Kansas. And there it is right there, unmistakable funnel cloud. Now, sometimes when you see something like that, it may actually be a tornado, and you just don't realize it because you don't always see that cloud extending to the ground. Sometimes you'll see a little swirl right at the ground there called a dust envelope. But in this case, it does appear to be a bona fide funnel cloud. There does not appear to be that little swirl there, though we did, in fact, get tornadoes across parts of Kansas and Oklahoma and Missouri tonight. And we want to take you into Joplin, Missouri, and show you what it looked like earlier. We got hit by a couple of storms tonight, some very scary moments there in Joplin. Of course, we had a terrible, absolutely awful tornado 4 years ago, May 22nd, 2011. And people, no doubt, very sensitive. They are in general across the plains about severe weather, but certainly so when you've been hit by a very strong storm, as we were 4 years ago. And this was close. We had a circulation that was quite strong, generally headed towards the north side of Joplin. And in fact, there was a funnel cloud in Webb City. And then a second storm came in, but we got more of the hail and wind from that second storm. And now that threat coming down for the most part, though I will tell you there's a big complex of storms in central Kansas, and that may actually make its way into Joplin early tomorrow morning. So we'll begin with a look at the radar picture last 3 hours, and you can see what's happened here. You notice how the storm intensity has come down a little bit. You notice how some of these storms are beginning to join together, become more of a line of storms. It's those individual storms that are exceptionally dangerous. With those, you see oftentimes very large hail and tornadoes, those discrete cells, as we call them. Delaware County got a warning here, severe thunderstorm warning until 11:30, and this is the area where we saw a possible tornado earlier. We'll drop on down and show you the cell that's now moving down here into western parts of Arkansas. Still a big old hail core there, but and then you've got a little bit of a circulation south of Afton, where we actually had a couple of semis blown off 44. That's right there due to that possible tornado. And right in here, we're looking at no circulation with this little hook echo, but certainly some damaging wind and some hail along with that. Take you farther away towards the north and east here. No warnings on these cells along 44. Got a couple of warnings, though, south of St. Louis. Severe thunderstorm warning on the south side of the metro. That's Jefferson and St. Louis County, looking out for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind. Same story along 44, Franklin County. Seeing a little bit of a notch there, so we'll need to keep our eyes on that. And then finally, I want to take you out into central parts of Kansas. And here again is that big complex that at times has been moving as fast as 80 miles per hour, producing 70-mile-per-hour wind. That is going to be headed for 135, and Hutchinson and perhaps Wichita, Pawnee, Rush, Stafford counties under warning till 11:45, and also warnings here to the north, Barton County, that going until 11:15. So here's the forecast for the rest of tonight. Again, it's going to be more of a wind threat and a heavy rain threat than anything else, and that's going to be along 44 there and up into the Ohio Valley. And then tomorrow, we will reintroduce the potential for tornadoes, 3 out of 10 on the Torcon Index tomorrow afternoon and evening, Kentucky and Tennessee, and strong storms farther south and west as well. Kim, Alex, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Carl. Well, that wraps it up for us tonight. We hope you all stay safe. Again, that severe threat continues tomorrow. That's
right, and we'll, of course, be following that action as we work our way on into tomorrow as well. If you're still dealing with those storms tonight, hunker down out there. Heavy downpours, damaging winds potential for some of these storms as well, so be safe.